Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I know I said X-Men 94, and now I got X-Men 95. Why? Because I cannot find X-Men 94. I specifically took it out months ago, and I put it aside with a stack of comics that I was going to do 10-minute videos back when I used to do 10-minute videos about comic books. I got to get back to that. And I can't find that whole stack. I got I got a big pile of geez, if anybody even remembers back when I used to do DC Who's Who, I still got three more left. Uh, so I got to find that stack of comics. There's like three places. There's like three places where it could possibly be. And right now, I stayed up way too late last night. Woke up way too early, so I'll find it and I'll insert it in. So when you watch these, you can watch it in order. So there you go. So I talked way too much last night. So my throat is killing me. For whatever, my phone is blow. Oh, I gotta say, all the guys at work are wishing me happy Father's Day. I'm not a father, but I appreciate the sentiments. It's you accept things in the spirit that they were offered. So happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. One thing that gets my craw is when women are like, "I'm the single women. I'm the mother and the father." No, you're not. You're the mother. You're the mother. Uh, that just drives me nuts. Like on Father's Day, you don't hear single women, the single fathers going, "I'm also the mother." No, they're not. So there you go. So let's take a sip of delicious Tim Hortons coffee. There you go. So good, so good. Second best thing to come out of Canada, next to my wife. What would be the third best thing to come out of Canada? William Shatner. William Shatner. Crenshaw. Crenshaw, you're going to need a ton of coffee with these late night streams. Yeah, Crenshaw, it's real funny. Crenshaw invited me to his stream. I popped in for a second, like in the chat, and then said I'm going to bed. And I was literally going to bed when I got a message. Oh, I'm available because Liam Gray and I we settled on 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but he was asleep. I don't know what time that is in Australia, so I was just like, all right, no big deal. I don't. And then he was like, oh, I'm ready now. I was like, all right. I mean, if I was minutes away from going to bed. Palate cleanser. Let's cleanse that palate. Hey, Marcus, you're up either late or early. You must be dying. Happy Father's Day, Marcus. I know you got two wonderful boys, right? Two. It is. Oh God, got crusty. Crust is in my eyes. Very late. Yes, it was. Ben Sabar, voice actor. How you doing? How you doing? Good morning. Enjoyed the stream last night. Man, you must be tired too. Then, how did I do? Did I look foolish? Because I was falling asleep at the beginning, and then I think I got my second win somewhere around the 19th hour. I'm watching the Liam interview now. Yeah. Yes, too. Okay. Tell you boys I said hello, and Marcus. I feel bad. Marcus every year invites me down to Heroes Con, and I just can't take the time off work. I used up all my time off work breaking my stupid neck, so I not until January 1st am I going to get all the time reset. So kind of like I borrowed time because I was out on a disability. You know what I mean? So I just can't take the time off. Can't afford it either. 6 months no pay is a hell of a drug. Lacey Lee, I'm inhaling coffee as speak, John. Funniest damn thing I ever saw. Oh, Lacey's in the chat. How you doing, Lacey? You and Abrax, I always miss when I don't see your names. I feel like, and if anybody knows War Duke, and it's gonna drive me nuts how I say I'm missing the guy, but I can't remember his name because it was a regular name. Regular names I can't remember. But you guys seem to be like my original four. I miss them. The problem with Liam is if they're not careful, you'll get dragged into a quagmire. I already know. I already know. There's gonna be stuff made up about me or whatever. I'm gonna have a head wound all of a sudden. Happy Father's Day to dads and not alike. Oh, there you go. Should have talked about the patriarch on Father's Day. Next year I'll have it in my hand. Hope you're all having a blessed Father's Day. You too. It became an interview looking for wins as opposed to reaching common ground, whatever. Okay. Okay. Most of them do. Good morning, John. And why is Thunderbird such a jerk? Because he's awesome. You break your back up building up your PTO, then use it on a broken neck. Can't have cake and eat it too. Yeah, pretty much. I'm not complaining. The only thing that bothered me was I had a 401k loan, and I defaulted on it because I was out for 6 months, and then I had to pay taxes on it. So I got hit with a tax bill. That's what really I was doing okay, because you just reduce spending. It's just me and my wife. That effed me up. All right, so we got 25 people watching, so there's no need to filibuster anymore. So this is the all new, all different X-Men. So this is the third appearance of the X-Men, the new X-Men. The first appearance being Giant Size X-Men #1, which I did for the past 2 weeks. 94 is the second appearance, and I it's gonna drive me nuts until I find it, and then when I find it, I'll insert it into this order. But I should have found it first before I announced it, but I just took it for granted that I knew where it was. All right, so and that happened to my Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos #1 for months. I was panicking. All right, so we got Dave Cockrum over here drawing the X-Men. I love this little corner box. Adam Driver as Nightcrawler. Geez, look at that. Man, Adam Driver as Nightcrawler. Make it so. Look at all these wonderful. It's funny that Cyclops is drawn by Dave Cockrum, but it kind of looks like John Byrne. It's just like he's got like a, I don't know, basic superhero face. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, so we got Not a Hoax, Not a Dream. In this issue, an X-Men dies. You must read War Hunt. Now, I wonder who dies. Well, who's not in the corner box? You know what I mean? Way to ruin the surprise. It's funny. I've looked at this for years, and I never noticed that until just now when I'm talking about it. This issue at X-Men dies. Oh wow! I'm so suspenseful. I wonder who it is. Oh, who's not in the corner box? All right. So let's open up, and it just drives me nuts. I don't have 90 available right now. So we got Chris Claremont as the writer, David Cockrum artist, Sam Granger as the inker, Karen Mantelo as the letterer. I'm going to assume that Karen Mantelo is Bill Mantelo's wife. Petra Goldberg as the colorist. Is Petra Goldberg the wife of Stan Goldberg? I know Marcus would know. And Marv Wolfman as the editor. We got the Nazi font over here. So that means that everybody involved in Marvel Comics is a Nazi because they use the Nazi font. That's the rules. So everybody is a Nazi. And these are the new X-Men. And in a few seconds, they will all be dead. Dun, dun, dun. So last issue, they were flying their plane. I don't recall that it was the Blackbird yet. It was still just like the X-Jet. And it blowed up real good. It blowed up real good. And now they're falling to their doom. We got Storm. We got Banshee. We got Colossus, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Nightcrawler. Okay. And what year is this? This is 1975. 1975. Okay, going forward, I'll do the pages, chat, pages, chat, pages, chat. So let's check out the page. This is gonna be a rough one, guys. This is gonna be a rough one. Okay, great cover. Yes, it is such a good cover. It is such a great cover. Did Gil Kane do the cover? Did Gil Kane do this cover? Marcus, did Gil Kane do this cover? Marcus will have an answer post haste. Phantom Outsider. Now that Bucky and Uncle Ben have over the years sort of came back. Uncle Ben is back too? Looks like the Thunderbird is the only character other than Feral Lad that stays dead. Yeah, and there was a replacement Feral Lad, if I remember. And there was a replacement of Thunderbird called Warpath. Petra is Stan's daughter. Okay. Petra is Stan's daughter. Punish John. Don't punish me. I'm a good boy, I promise. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, it is Gil Kane. Okay. I wasn't sure. That's why I don't want to equivocally state one way or another. Is Karen Mantelo Bill Mantelo's wife, daughter, sister? I mean, it's not like Mantelo's a common name. So what do we got here? We got the recap. Unless impact minus 100 seconds. Think, Cyclops. Think. You can't give up now. So what's going on? The one-page traditional Marvel, let's get you up to speed. And look at it. So we got the word balloons, or not the word balloons. The frames is in a cloud. You know, whenever they mess with the shape of the panel borders, it usually indicates a flashback or a break in time, or some like maybe sometimes like a change in reality. You know, but this is a break in time. First, a flashing, insanely kaleidoscopic falls across Cyclops' mind. Memories of how the Beast had contacted the X-Men. The X-Men had flown to stop him, to tell them that Count Nefaria and the Annie-Men had taken over NORAD headquarters and gained control over the American nuclear arsenal. That Nefaria was holding the world for ransom. The X-Men had flown out to stop him. Notice they're not fighting mutant threats. You know, they're not, oh, we are being persecuted. The very first new X-Men adventure, yeah, that was kind of a mutant threat, but to me, that was like a Lovecraftian horror threat. You know, Krakoa. I mean, technically, yeah, it was a mutant, but it wasn't mutant humans. It wasn't mutant humans. Again, I didn't even think of that in the whole time, the 2 weeks that we talked about. Krakoa is not a mutant story. Mutants are humans. That's a monster story. So far, we have 3 appearances of the X-Men. They're not mutant stories. They're not persecution stories. They're not woe is me stories. It's superhero adventure. What do you guys think? I just realized that now. And we got Count Nefaria. Friday night on It's Clobbered Time, I mentioned to my lovely assistant co-host of Marcus that we were talking about words in Marvel that were like outlawed. Like you couldn't say zombie. You said zvumbi. However, I can never really remember how you pronounce that. And then you couldn't say mafia. You said magia. And I talked about how like later on, Marvel kind of embraced the changes in the name and had mafia as what we know as, you know, the Goombas whacking, you know, Goodfellas and wise guys and all that stuff. Whereas the Magia kind of became like the comic book organized crime. Like they had like super high tech machinery. And Count Nefaria was one of like the dons in the Magia. He was an old world raving lunatic, you know, with the opera cape and like this not cummerbund. What is it called? This part, you know, the monocle. He was a stereotypical raving lunatic villain. He's not a super villain at this point because he doesn't really have any powers, but he is a villain. He's like a Bond villain, you know, not a mutant, not a mutant. And then his plane gets blown up. So impact minus 90 seconds, and the members. Anybody a physics geek? How high up in the air do you have to be to have a free fall for 90 seconds? That's a long time to fall. I'm curious to see if anybody knows. Storm, Banshee, listen up. Each of you grab a pair of X-Men and head for the ground. Nightcrawler, you can teleport. But I cannot, Cyclops, not from here. What? I love how they're wasting time talking about this. I'm going to explain how my powers work here as we're literally free falling. I can teleport, yes, but if I teleport from this height, the law of conservation of energy demands that I materialize with the same velocity that I started with. I will be killed regardless. Do not worry, Kurt. I can carry you and Colossus easily. And I like Colossus goes, no, I can get that on my own. Take that, dip, Wolverine. Peter, don't be a fool. Don't argue, Storm. There is enough time. Get out of here now. Cyclops, I haven't enough lift to carry 2 grown men. I'm sorry, but I'll have to come back for ye. Well, I'll see you around, Banshee. Just don't take too long. So this is the leader. And this is why I liked Cyclops. This is the Cyclops that I liked. Right. Think Salvador Crop. Everybody's panicking. You know, and these are rookies. These are rookie X-Men. And, you know, everybody except for Banshee is a kid. You know, I still find it funny that we call like 19-year-olds kids, but yeah, these are kids. So Banshee is significantly older than the X-Men. He's significantly more experienced. He was an Interpol agent, you know, so he's a, you know, a full-on adult to the X-Men's teenagers, and they're panicking. They're panicking. Well, obviously Wolverine's vastly older, but there was no real backstory on Wolverine at this point. So you know, notice he doesn't even have any dialogue. So he makes the snap decision, no time to argue, you know, and then boom. Now I'm curious. This little paragraph over here of Nightcrawler explaining his powers. I love that stuff. I love that stuff. That he's just explaining. So for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, he's falling. So when he materializes, he's going to be going at the same speed. Now, here's my question. Could he change that angle of that speed? You know, so he's teleporting down. Could he teleport so that he comes out and his speed is going that way? Or does it always have to be in the same in the same direction? Does the velocity always stay in the same vector? Could he change the vector? That's an interesting thing to talk about, because now, boom, you know what I mean? Just think about that. Superman's flying at you. Like if you could teleport other people and then have them facing the other way, where you know he hits the building or something like that. That would be really really cool. But does anybody know if Nightcrawler developed that ability to change his velocity? Could he change the, you know, he's teleporting this way, boof, and then or if he can, again, Nightcrawler is a kid and inexperienced at this point. He's a first level superhero. Could he teleport down and then reorientate himself so that his velocity would go like this, and then poop, teleport again? You know what I mean? That probably comes with experience, but that's the way I think. But I like that right now these are rookies, unsure of their powers, untested, and Cyclops, not only does he give the command, but he's willing to suffer the consequences. So here we got Colossus is the first to land, if the one truly called this is a landing. You know, so he hits the ground and makes a crater. Lord, no, the lad's killed himself. How's that for a terrible Irish accent? So let's get back to ooh, wow, a lot of comments. A lot of comments. Where are we? Okay, so Dave Marcus says Gil Kane did the cover with Dave Cockrum inking. Okay, so that's why for so long I thought it was Dave Cockrum until I read someplace that it was Gil Kane, but I every time I see it, my first instinct was Dave Cockrum, so that's why I shut my mouth. Engaging in late night politics before Sunday comics is taxing. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Colossus going head first made no sense. If you went feet first, it would be easier to get out of the hole. Yeah, but the rule of cool. The rule, you know what I mean? The rule of cool. Yeah. Hey, Ludiverse, how you doing? One of Colossus's big concerns was fire and melting from heat. He had no problem landing like a missile from hundreds of feet in the air, though. Interesting. Well, he's also a rookie at this point. He's probably a rookie who's not thinking of all the possibilities. Maybe, you know, like I said, I love the idea of rookie superheroes. I toyed with the idea of introducing the Patriarch as a rookie superheroes, but then the way crowdfunding is, the way the world works, would I've got to make stories where he was cool? So I decided to start with Old Man Patriarch, and then later on I'll tell stories of Rookie Patriarch, all the mistakes that he made, you know, before he was super buff and everything like that. That's why I do like the Spider-Man movies when they show him learning how to swing and everything like that. I love that stuff. Glad to see you're safe. I'm always safe. If I could get away from me, I would be safer. I'm my worst enemy. Omnipro says, hello? Stan was too much of a chicken to insult the Mafia because they were still involved in newsstand distribution, so it became Magia. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that the book The Godfather was told by the mafia dons, don't say the word mafia. So I don't think he was chicken to insult them. I think he was wise not to, back then in the 70s, there really was this, what was it? Gaslighting, I guess, as the kids say. There was this gaslighting attempt. There is no mafia. There's no such thing as mafia. And recently, they tried the same thing with. There's no Antifa. There's no Antifa. Even though we know it. It's a gaslighting technique. But except the mafia was pretty proficient at enforcing its gaslighting, whereas Antifa is a bunch of fat idiots who the only Nazis they punch are imaginary ones. But also, I think that the Comics Code Authority would not let them use words like zombie, werewolf, vampire, and mafia. I could be wrong. Probably am. Good morning. Congratulations. Greetings. And happy Father's Day. Yes. How on earth are you awake after your super late stream? Well, I'm used to waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, no matter what. So, and then you wake up. I've done shifts where you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you work 18 hours, you go home, you sleep for whatever, and then you come back and you do another 18-hour shift. It's just one of those things. Now it catches up to you after a while, but yeah, I could do it. I could do it. Oop, there you go. Why didn't Cyclops use his blast to land? Good point. Good point. Now, would that have worked? That's interesting. Let's come back. Let's come back to that. Google says it's about 130,000 feet or 24 miles. The edge of space is 62 miles. Okay, they answered both my questions. According to Geek, factoring in air resistance. Okay. So they should have been like frozen, right? Frost coming out of their mouth and like condensating ice particles on the eyelids and stuff like that. Why do writers try to write Cyclops as a jerk or a stick in the mud when he originally wasn't in the first place? Why do writers make likable characters unlikable? Also, good question. I have a few theories. First off, Cyclops has always been a stick in the mud. He's always been a stick in the mud. And I have a soft spot for characters like Cyclops and then Black Bolt. These characters that their power is such a burden, such a responsibility that they have to exert self-control at all times. He has no choice. If Cyclops relaxes, people die. If Black Bolt relaxes, people die. So he constantly, that is stressful. So when everybody's partying and having fun, he's the wallflower. It's I sympathize with guys like that. I think it's great. It has built-in pathos. So Cyclops always, by necessity, has been a stick in the mud. Later on, I had really no problems with Cyclops until he leaves Madeline Pryor, pregnant Madeline Pryor, to go run after his ex-girlfriend. That's when it became a problem, and I think he's never recovered from that. So to me, that was like an editorial decree. I don't think, Louis Simon, anybody wanted to do that. It was just like, we got to get the original X-Men back together. They could have came up with a better story. Than I'm going to, Gene, I think if the hill to die on, that gift with the guy with the swords, I would have had Cyclops refusing to join the regional X-Men, and he was forced by necessity. They go out without him and blunder, almost like a retelling of Krakatoa. Oh my God, guys! I thank you, Ludiverse. You just gave me, but you know what I mean. X Factor #1 should have started with the original X-Men got together, did something. Cyclops refused because he's married. He's done with all of that. They're all captured. He has to go and rescue them. Oh my God. So the whole story, the first page would have been the original X-Men back together again, and then it's told in flashback. So they would have had their cake and eat it too. All the original X-Men got together, but not a character assassination of Cyclops. Later on, I think They assassinated him because he was a stick in the mud. He was the leader, and you know it's edgy and cool to turn people into a jerk. But he never recovered. And this comment, Cyclops and Alpha Man, not a lot. Yeah, you get a lot of people that don't like masculinity, don't like and you know they don't like masculinity. So you know they like this. I never liked the character of Lobo, and I said this since the 90s that Lobo is what a nerd imagines himself would be like if he was cool. You know what I mean? So Cyclops is a wimp trying to write an alpha male, and it just doesn't work. You know, do a little bit of research. Do a little bit of research. You know, stop being a resentful freak, and you could write alphas. If Nightcrawler went vertical, I feel he would maintain that speed for a while too. Yeah, that's what I mean. But maybe that's a trick that he would have mastered later on in his career. Like, you know, instead of teleporting orientated this way, teleport orientating this way, so that all that momentum sends him up. You know what I mean? You know, he's acrobatic enough to rewind himself. You know what I mean? But he's a rookie. He's a rookie, which to me is, had he done that right now, it would have been like, oh, cool. But then it would have showed that he was already experienced, well trained, and totally understood his powers. So this is perfect. This is perfect, if you ask me, because Chris Claremont's a genius. Popular media makes alpha males look like arrogant jerks, but to be an alpha means understanding how to act with all people. Yes. First off, I hate the term alpha male. It's just, I don't know. I'm sure it's sociologically accurate, but it's just, it's one of those terms like mid, grifter, whatever. It's these words that don't mean what they originally mean anymore. I know that there's language drift, and alpha male has suffered for it. Cyclops could, if he needed to slow his father using it. Yeah, and I know he's used that technique later in the future. Has he used it in the past? Because you know, maybe now is when he realized he needed to learn how to do that. Torchbearer, what did I miss? You missed 2 pages of me talking about X-Men 95. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Yes. There is no war in Ba Sing Se, and Comicsgate is doing better than ever. I was waiting up to my breakfast in bed showed up. Oh, that's right, your father. It's funny, I told my wife, you know, we were joking around one day, and I just said to her, like, what would you want if this, blah, blah. And I said, I know what I don't want. I do not want breakfast in bed. The whole idea of breakfast in bed just gives me the skeeves. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that should be done in bed, and I'm not going to list them all. Use your imagination. But eating is not one of them. You know what I mean? I do not want to eat breakfast in bed, because to me, I would, if you're going to make breakfast in bed, then I want my favorite breakfast, which is a sunny side up eggs, buttered toast, bacon, and I make a mess. I don't want that mess in my bed. The history of comics, the mob had been involved. Yes, from shaking down Will Eisner to rumors of Vince Coletta was connected to the mob owning Charlton. Yeah, the owner of Charlton went to jail for money laundering, right? Using it for money. Yeah. There you go. Yes, so the mob has always been involved in comics. What camera am I using? I bought a new camera. Professor Savage Dad, if you leave a comment in this video asking me this, when I can look at it and tell you, I'll answer the question. But you know, I'd have to rotate the camera and everything like that to answer. I have one, but this looks so much better. Or do you just have a lot of natural light in the room? I have this ring light right over here. I have a 2x2 LED light right above my head, and I shut that off, and I use this ring light. You know, people, you know, I was like, once I committed to the bit of doing YouTube, I have that camera up there, and that's like a $65 camera. This is like $180 camera, and like a ring light. You know, because when I had this overhead light on, I just looked a lot balder than I am, and my head just glowed. So At this point, the code had already opened up a bit, as since Marv Wolfman is his real name, they allowed Wolfman to be. Yeah, they couldn't. Isn't that weird that that's his real name? I always thought it was a fake name, but that's his real name, and they can't stop a guy from using his real name. I do love how Thunderbird was always telling Colossus the stuff, but one shot from Psych would have knocked him out. Yes. At this point, I would argue that Cyclops is the most powerful member of the X-Men. At this point, without a doubt, Cyclops one shot. He could one shot everybody else on the team if he wanted to. Ludiverse. Wow, a lot of comments. Sometimes not wanting to start a war against the Mafia by yourself isn't the cowardice. Yeah. Yep. Survival skills is not cowardice. Hey, Savage Dad became a YouTube member. Thank you. Did you just pay money to become a member? I always feel a little bit guilty because I have nothing to offer. If anybody, now that Savage Dad is a member, what would be good offerings for members? What would be good? I guess now would be a good time to talk about this. I made these cards for Memphis King Fighting Society. Let it be known, and you sign your name. You know, DC Miller designed it and made these for me. And I'm going to be putting these in the next campaign because actually 2 campaigns down the road because King Fu will be a big deal. And I got envelopes for them with nice little stickers and everything like that. So, I mean, that's all I could think of, but kind of have to be in the continental United States because to mail them outside is a fortune. You know what I mean? So I literally don't know what to offer members, you know. When YouTube becomes your full-time job, it kind of brings out the worst in you. You kind of have to become like an OnlyFans girl. You know what I mean? I kind of like that I have my main source of income, and this is still like somebody super chatted me last night to insult another person in the chat. I don't like that. I'm not a cam girl. I'm not gonna jump monkey jump. I'm not gonna dance monkey dance because you threw $2 at me. I like to think I have some sort of dignity, you know. $600, I'll insult the guy in the chat. I can be bought, but for $2, you know, this person in the chat is a jerk moron. You know, I didn't like it when people super chatted me $40 to insult my guest. I didn't like it when people super chatted $2 to insult somebody in the chat. Whether or not they have a legitimate point is besides the point. You know, for $2, I'm not Belle Delphine or whatever her name is. Cyclops was always Captain America, the X-Men. Absolutely. And you know how I'm always going off on names, like the name defines the character? Cyclops. I'm not sure if Stan Lee envisioned this, because the rumor has it that Stan Lee saw that movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, and it was what was the robot's name? Klaatu Barata. So Klaatu, I think, was the robot. Barata was the handler. Or the other way around, I forget which one. But he saw that shooting the I-beams, and that was it. That became Cyclops. So he came up with the concept first of a guy in a visor shooting this tight power beam. And then he said, well, what would he be? Well, he looks like a Cyclops. But I also think he has one eye, one vision, he's focused. He's focused. Cyclops. You know, you know, he doesn't have 2 eyes to check everything. He's singular, and I just think it's a perfect name for a perfect power, for a perfect personality. So he took his responsibility seriously. Absolutely. Cyclops was always insecure because Logan was always sniffing around his girl. Yeah. I don't know if he was insecure. Is that insecure when somebody's hitting on your wife, girlfriend, or is it justified anger? Get away from my girlfriend. I wouldn't do that to you. That was one of my unforgivable, you know, Harry Potter had the unforgivable curses. To me, if you're my friend, flirting is one thing. I'll flirt with your wife and stuff like that, but keep in mind I'm not hitting on your wife. There's a difference. You know what I mean? It's nice. You know what I mean? My wife laughs at me. She's such a flirt, but you know, I like it. You know what I mean? But I'm not trying to sleep with your wife. If you're my friend and you are hitting, it's one thing to flirt, harmless little flirting. You know, to me, this is what men do. Men bust each other's chops, and men flirt with women. Am I old-fashioned? Absolutely. You know what I mean? And I just see that as the natural order. I don't think, like, when I see my friends like flirting with my wife, you know what I mean? It's yeah, it's all good fun. It's fun. No harm, no foul. But when you're hitting on my wife or girlfriend, that's it. I'm done with you. I literally haven't spoken to one of my friends. It was like, and he looked at me and I was like, well, what are you doing? You just crossed the line. And that was it. Haven't spoken to him since, that's different. So I would call it insecure. You're hitting, or, you're trying to do the deed with, when you know that they're a couple, you've become the villain. You've become the villain. Wow, a lot of comments. Holy mackerel. Cyclops is the same category as Superman and Captain America. Yeah. I'll, as far as like a good guy who does the right thing at sacrifice, I'll buy that. Yeah, I wouldn't put him on the same level as like popularity in history, but I don't think that's what you meant. He did the same poop when she wanted to bank a slutty blonde. Yeah, Wolverine he's a wild animal. He's a wild animal. That's what he's supposed to be. You know what I mean? He is a wild animal, and he's not a swan that mates for life. He's I don't know what is the mating habits of an actual Wolverine. Hey, Marcus, the straight men are necessary for crazy characters to be able to do their antics. Yeah, the deadpan. Yes, absolutely. What would Costello be without Abbott? You definitely need that. I just got the comic from 74 that calls somebody a zombie in it. Maybe some words slip by. Oh, cool. Did the word zombie end by 74? Was it a Marvel comic? I'm curious. Because Marvel back in 74, before Jim Shooter, the editorial, it was almost like little fiefdoms, and that's one of the big problems with Jim Shooter, was that he took all these fiefdoms and became the emperor and united them under one kingdom. And that's why there was a lot of resentment, because Marvel was a bunch of hippies just making stuff. The character assassinated him because he was a competent, capable, intelligent white male who had great leadership abilities. Yeah. And they didn't, I don't think it started out as purposeful. I'll give them that. I'll think it just because they didn't know how to deal with that kind of character. They didn't know how to write that kind of character. You know what I mean? That's why, has there been a good Captain America story lately? Because all of these left-leaning commies don't know how to write a patriotic individualist. Lobo fans riot. I deserve that. I preferred him as dead, but I preferred him as a deadbeat dad abandoning his family. Reinforces he's an asshole. Once you're, I don't know. Look what they did to my boy, Stippling. Look what they did to my boy. And guys, check out Stippling. He makes a video after this of him doing his art in a bar. I always listen to it. In LA? Or is it? Come on, John. Alan the Grant run on Lobo was cool. If you say so. I probably don't have it because I just don't like the character. It's good to let characters have room to grow. Absolutely. Lobo was a nerd. Remember, he created a virus lab to knock out everybody of his race. Yeah. Well, he was created to kill everybody, but that doesn't mean he was a nerd. But that was his origin. Hey, Marcus, Captain Tommy Limey Wimey Dimey. Greetings. How you doing? DC caused a crack in the comics code. They had Marvel Wolfman on House of Mystery, and they put a tale told by a Wolfman, credited writer Marvel Wolfman. Code had to allow. Work those rules. But to get back to this, you see how the rules forced them to be creative? I still argue, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, that comics were the best under constraints. Star Wars was the best when they were limited by technology and constraints, and they had to be creative. Art through adversary. Once George Lucas had infinite money and infinite resources, he produced crap. Sorry, the sequels weren't good. George Lucas made Star Wars despite George Lucas. Like, he had to justify every decision he made, and it was sandpaper that polished a movie. So there you go. I don't like how alpha male stereotypes make reasonable second in command seem like wimps being called beta male. Personally, I like the king archetype and the knight card. Oh, that interesting point. Interesting. King Fu does sound like a fine character. Yeah, you know what's funny is my friend Jimmy. I'm surprised he's not in the chat. Oh, it's Father's Day. He's with his daughter instead of watching a moron like me. But he was always like more King Fu. You know, because King Fu was a non-player character in my role-playing game, and I would get into him and act him out. You know, and he was always like, we need more King Fu, like to the point whenever the character had like control over the story for a bit, you know, be like, okay, we need to call him back up. He's like, we'll call it in King Fu, you know, like, so yeah, I to the point where Heroic Tales 3, Mary Sue goes back to Flushing, Queens, you know, which is a Chinatown. Downtown Flushing is all Chinese, and I had another Chinese character, and he was a martial artist who was going to interact with her. And I'm like, King Fu fits the bill. Why not give the fans what they want? And because I changed the character who I'll name and introduce later on, because I still love that secondary character, the original character, I should say. It gave me an idea, and because of that idea, it inspired what's going to happen in Heroic Tales 3. So I bumped up Heroic Tales 3 because that was going to be like issue 6. I mean, Patriarch 3. That was going to be like Patriarch number 6. So all because people liked King Fu. Kenny Kim, King Fu. Thanks a lot, bro. Providing authentic comic book content with big creators and actually just sitting down and talking about the stuff is in a real way, I think is enough. Everything else you might have to come up with. What do you mean? Or anything up with you? I'm here for. Okay, I thought I was being insulted. I see you ran out of time. Thank you, Professor Savage Dad. Thank you so much. That's nice. Well, Banshee can, if he wanted to liquefy solid matter concrete with his voice, so he could turn their bones to gel. Yeah, Banshee's a powerhouse too. I've always liked Banshee. Always liked Banshee. Wow, so many comments, guys. Content like this and creators like you are actually needs to be supported in this arena, not the drama farming and bull that people just want to complain and provide negative. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, and I do admit, drama and negativity brings in clicks and views and super chats. I'm not known for my huge subscriber base and super chats and views. You know, that's one of the things. Anytime I say something, somebody comes to my channel, hey, your video only has 14 views or something like that. Because comic books is a niche market. So do you like comic books and you want to stick to comic books, you're fighting an uphill battle. I totally admit that. So it's time for some YouTubers to admit that their comic books are their side gig. Comic books, you know, just, you know, that it's the truth. It's the truth. That's why, like, all the big comic book channels talk about Star Wars and, you know, and now that, you know, didn't Doug Ernst, who I have no problem with, don't misconstrue this, but didn't he blow up when he started talking about Trump? You know what I mean? Dude, I love the design of King Fu, and the card is awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love King Fu. Totally inspired by the Elvis going into the barber shop and getting the haircut like Captain Marvel Jr. Have you thought about getting an embossed stamper so you could put an imprint on your merch? That's a good idea. Now I'm thinking about it. I never thought of it. I don't know if I could time out a super chat. I don't want you to. Like, I can't control what people. If somebody puts in a super chat and they want to pay me money, let them pay me money. But I decide whether or not I want to read them. I'm not your dancing monkey. You know what I mean? And if anybody super chats me and then, you know, gets mad at me, oops. You know, I mean, I let it be known from on high that I'm not your dancing monkey. If you super chat me, thank you for the money. It goes to making comic books. So I'm assuming if you're watching me, you're a comic book fan. But I'm not your performing monkey where I'm going to just read out any nonsense. You know what I mean? I'm not. You know what I mean? That's my policy, and I'm sticking to it. I agree with you. If you want to do that kind of stuff in the chat and pay that kind of money for stuff, there's plenty of shows out there for you to. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's funny because as much as I disagree with you, boy Zach, I do agree with, like, when people super chat you, it's like, if you want to say, hey, I love what you do, here's $5, make a comic book. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. If, super chat, because, I spend so much time watching. It's like PBS, here's some money. Just keep. Awesome. Awesome. But it's like, could you wish me a happy birthday? I'll wish you a happy birthday. Happy birthday. I'll wish it to you for free. You don't have to super chat me for that. But that to me kind of, not to be all Fabian Nizietta on you, but that kind of see that there's some underlying issues. I absolutely agree. I don't think people should bring poop like that in here. It's a space for people who take the art form seriously. Yeah, I mean, I started talking about Bible stuff. I spent all weekend doing drama, so I'm not above it. We're all hypocrites. I'm a hypocrite too. Gort is the robot, John. Klaatu is the handler. That's right. Okay. Thank you. Klaatu Barata Niktow. Yes. Thank you. And that also makes the Necronomicon safe. If you ever happen to have a Necronomicon, read that, which I think is one of the best jokes in all of cinema. That I love that. And I would like to think, in my headcanon, oh God, I can't believe I said headcanon. It's real. It is real. And, all these Hollywood people knew that. And that's where, what Klaatu Barata Niktow is like a real Necronomicon phrase that was like, and that phrase made Earth safe, from the robot, you know what I mean? So like, it's like some underground magic spell that somebody weaved into American pop culture in order to keep us safe, so that we accidentally say this magic phrase. I love that stuff like that. In all honesty, I think Logan made Cyclops a better leader. It's yes, absolutely. Frankly, I would read a team up book of the two of them on a road. Oh, that would be fun. Old school though. I prefer my Wolverines wild and crazy guy Wolverine. The later on wise sage Wolverine, and then and then the Wolverine now. Logan helped to exacerbate Jean getting corrupted by Mastermind. That is interesting. I never thought of that. I don't. He didn't do it on purpose, but that's besides the point. Okay, all right. I got to think about that. That actually stopped me in my tracks. Man, Cyclops takes Spider-Man's motto, with great power comes great, and dials it to 11. Spider-Man was careful with his power, but he can't. Yes, Spider-Man could afford to be goofy. Spider-Man could afford to rest. Cyclops can't even sleep without a ritual, just like Black Bolt. Sorry, my voice is cracking. I think that relationship was unexplored in my time. Yeah, good point. Savage said you slammed him out of the park. Wolverine got the morals of an av. Yes, he is a Wolverine. He's a wild man at this point. He's a dangerous wild man. And that's my favorite Wolverine. I don't think it started out personal Spider-Man. That's kind of what matured Spider-Man. Yes. Spider-Man and Cyclops both got the same treatment if you think about it. Yes. Same with Captain America became a Nazi. And Reed Richards. Don't get me started on my boy Reed Richards. Interesting. So many comments, guys. I'm never going to turn the page. Comics Code was relaxed in 71, which is why Tuba Dracula started in 72. Thank you. Okay, there you go. Lobo was always more about the art than the story for me. I could see that, especially since you're an artist yourself. But I like that he took the P out of a lot of DC characters who seem to be on pedestals. Well, my OnlyFans is fixing the time travel in your stories. There you go. Well, I got a time travel story in the works. It's scheduled to be in Heroic Tales number 4. That is going to be my multiverse issue. One half of the story is going to deal with my time traveling character. The other half of the story is going to deal with a character from an alternate Earth. So there you go. And my alternate Earth character, that's going to be my breakout character. Everybody's going to love that character. I can't wait. To be honest, I don't care about the worlds or traditions definition for man. I go as God, my source. My control model is Jesus self, serving kind. Okay, not about physical strength, but here. Good points. Can we get an amen, brother? Classic monsters were allowed so long as they were handled in classic tradition. The zombie was an exception as they lacked a literary basis. First zombie was in Swamp Thing, 16 May. I'm going to assume that's 1975. Okay. I love all this. Off the church. There you go. Black Bolt or Banshee, who could scream the loudest? Black Bolt. Black Bolt could shatter mountain cities. Banshee could liquefy steel. But anything Black Bolt could do, Black Bolt's power is like disintegrate atoms, and they travel like on a quantum level. He's got cosmic level Jack Kirby powers. Black Bolt is probably Marvel's like, I don't know, but in the top 5 most powerful. Banshee's nowhere near the top 5. I pity Dafu. Banshee's powers are, besides Storm, the most versatile of this version of the X-Men. Magneto even says of all the X-Men there, Banshee was the most formidable. Yeah, I think Banshee legitimately could one-shot Magneto. Magneto, if you think about it logically and you think about it like real-world physics, Magneto could manipulate magnetic fields. I don't know, and I'm an electrician, of any way a magnetic field could hamper sonic waves. You know what I mean? Like back in the DC forum days, we used to argue over who would win in a fight. And this one guy was like, Magneto does this, Magneto does that, Magneto does this, Magneto. And I said, Captain Marvel, Shazam defeats him. Well, he's got blood in his system. I said, oh yeah, Captain Marvel, Shazam from a mile away throws a tennis ball at him. Full strength. Magneto's just splattered. What do you guys think? So I don't see how Magneto could stop sonic powers. Drama is like a greasy, artery clogging burger, delicious but extremely unhealthy. Yeah. Dance Monkey. Wow, I'm that far beyond in the chats. Everybody's laughing. Headcanon. Oh my God. It's a good policy, John, but as you go, super chats will be only to communicate due to the volume. It's this. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Like, you know what I mean? When you get 3,000 people watching your chat, I have no illusions of that. But yeah, if people want to communicate directly with me, that's what a super chat does. I think that was the original purpose too. Like, when you're on Yellow Flash's level, or West from Critical Thinker, you know what I mean. So that stops them and focuses. And if I ever get to that point, I'm still not going to read super chats that are just there to start trouble. You know what I mean? Bwahaha. Somebody actually created a card catalog for the Necronomicon in the Library of Congress. That's pretty funny. Wolverine, a wild and crazy mutant from Czechoslovakia. Yeah, and he's got poop. He looks for the women with the poop on their shoes. Well, you know what? Jean Grey doesn't have the poop on her shoes. I break with thee. Anybody know what I'm talking about? It just creeped me out when Marvel made Logan Scott. Yeah. Character assassination. Just imagine Black Bolt with hiccups. I always viewed Wolverine as an angry feral man. Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, I know he flirted with women, but I always see him as the angry, grumpy one. But Wolverine would have, this Wolverine, Wild Man Wolverine would have stuck the landing on, if I may be, whatever. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Only fanboys. That is so absurd, it's brilliant. KO Joe, that is so absurd, it's brilliant. If I was writing for Saturday Night Live, there would be a skit, Only Fanboys, or a website where you can, what do? You pay money and a guy explains a character to you? That is another comment that just stopped me dead in my tracks. That is brilliant. Multiverse, you are truly wise. Damn! When are you creating your Beyonder character? I have one in the back of my mind. I have one in my role-playing game, but I have no, as of now, not going to show up in my in comics. Suggested you could do Byrne's Fantastic Four story when Gladiator fights him if you haven't done it lately. That's a good one. That is a good one. That is a really good one of my favorites. I mean, pedantically, universes and timelines aren't synonymous, obviously, but let's not work. Okay. Can Black Bolt do ventriloquism? That would be good if he could destroy things over there. Banshee's limited as a scream takes a lot of out. Yep. And he attacks. Yes, absolutely. I like, and that's a great Marvel weakness. His power physically taxes him. I like that. I have a soft spot for Beyonder, so you better do him justice. Not like they, yeah. Beyonder was so cool, and then they ruined him. Why does Chuck Dixon tell us that 70 comic when his X-Men run was also very when this X? Because like I said to Liam Gray, human beings deal in generalities. You know what I mean? I understood when Chuck Dixon says 70s comics were bad. He's talking in generalities. And I think if hard pressed, Chuck Dixon would admit that there were good 70s comics. You know what I mean? But that's just the way human beings are wired. And that drives me nuts when somebody says something. You know, the Irish are drunks. Not my cousin, Seamus, he doesn't drink. Shut up. Or they say, women are shorter than men. Well, my cousin Mary is 6'19". You're a baby brain, to quote you boy Zach. Black Bolt might not be able to yell louder, but when he speaks, the sound gets amplified. Yeah. His powers aren't quite sonic. They're beyond sonic. You know what the scariest power to have? The ability to warp reality or erase or hurt someone with a thought. I personally know what it's like to be always conscious. Yeah. That's why mental powers to me are almost evil. Like mind control is an evil power. If you're a superhero with mind control, I think it would be like the One Ring. It's only a matter of time before you succumb to the power. Reading people's thoughts is iffy, and Star Fox, Eros, the power to just roofie people. Star Fox has emotion control powers. Emotion control powers are too. They're evil. It's taking away people's agency. Is it less evil? So two guys are robbing the bank. I show up and I mind control them to give themselves up to the police. Or two guys are robbing a bank. I use my laser vision or to pummel them into submission and they get arrested. It's morally better to laser vision them than to mind control them. It's just the way I feel. Wolverine just needs some tight slacks, like Matthew McConaughey. Only fanboys, tell me more about this multiverse thing. Yeah, it's a brilliant concept. It's a brilliant concept. Star Trek Mirror Mirror has an extra universe. Yep. I had a friend. We're no longer friends because of the whole COVID nonsense. But he used to tell me that my thinking was limited, which he's correct because I'm human. But he used to say that in infinite, if we accept the concept of other universes and infinite multiverses, that mathematically there has to be an exact copy of our universe. And I said no. And he was like, you have no concept of what infinity is. I said, no, I think that's because I have a good concept of what infinity is. At any point, there's an infinite number of varieties, correct? So if there's an infinite number of incidents, it's impossible for this infinite number of varieties to match up. And there's exact copies of universes that, and then the next variant, you know what I mean? Infinity divided by infinity is zero. There's zero possibilities of another universe that's exactly the same if we believe in this infinite, variety stuff. I'm spending too much time explaining. Just read Heroic Tales #4. I'm curious if you got Speedster character. Very hard to handle when writing them without being too overpowered. Yes, the Go-Getter. The Go-Getter. I made the card art and I released the card art, but I don't think we're gonna make the stretch goal for me to release the Go-Getter. But she makes a cameo in Heroic Tales #2. If I made a card and showed the art, they at least have a cameo. But yes, the Go-Getter is my speedster, and I love her. Her next scheduled appearance will be Patriarch #3. That's when the super team, fights a villain super team, and Patriarch does. I'm kind of goofing on the idea, like Superman's also in the Justice League. Well, Patriarch #3 is going to be him checking in on the super team. You know what I mean? And then, of course, super villains attack. Would you like to know more? Person, yeah. Star Trek City of Edge has extra timeline. Yeah. Timelines make great stories, but and I like time travel stories. And I like the point of the City of Edge of Forever is that they are fighting to preserve the timeline. Damn the consequences. They, so like, but also in Star Trek, my way of thinking, there's only one timeline. There could only be one time. So if other people time travel and try to stop Kirk from killing, what's her name? Why can't I can't even think of her name now? If Edith Keeler must die. Yeah. If they tried to, it can't succeed. Edith Keeler not only must die, but she will die because it already happened, and you can't change what already happened. These are demonstrably not the same. Timelines and multiverses? Yeah, I agree. Remember, only Sith steals an absolute. Oh God, there's so many comments. I'm never gonna get to the end. Yeah, speedsters are overpowered. I like how they did it with DP7, always needing to eat to replenish. Yes, I thought that was brilliant when Mike Baron introduced that in the Flash. And I would also say that regenerators need to eat. How do you defeat Wolverine? Either drown him, chain him up, throw him in the ocean, he dies. You can't regenerate from that. Or you chain him up so that he can't break out, and he just starves. He can't infinitely regenerate. That energy needs to come from somewhere. 70s were great for yeah. I disagree with Chuck. I absolutely 100% disagree with Chuck, but I'm not going to argue with Chuck about it. He's the authority. And plus, what you like is subjective. I like these comics. That explains why I'm so screwed up. I guess playing outside in the 80s gave me this pot belly too. They're not infinite though. Nobody proves that assumption. Okay. All right. Who said they're infinite? This is what my friend said. He said if there's infinite multiverses, then there has to be a cup. That was the if then was the supposition. If there are. Happy Father's Day, World at War Comics. 70s comics were certainly of their time. Lots of great artist stories, not so much, but there was real technical art. Oh yeah, the art was so good. The art was so good. I don't think Chuck will even argue. Who your top 2 or 3 superheroes are in comics? Superman, The Thing, and Reed Richards are my top three. Also keep in mind Superman, Captain Marvel. They could rotate because to me they are the same. But I would rather write. If I could own Superman or Captain Marvel, I would rather own Captain Marvel and tell Captain Marvel stories. But Superman is who doesn't love Superman? No universe would exactly be the same, as Homer found out when he left the universe where his family. Yep, Edith Keeler. Oh my God, we are so behind. They're not fighting to preserve the timeline. Clobby's law destroyed that idea. Okay, I don't know what that means. You'd have to bring me up Edith Keeler. Oh, Edith Bunker must die. Oh, Archie, I gotta stop the Nazis. Archie, we gotta stop the Nazis, Archie. Oh, geez, Edith, they're just trying to make the neighborhood better. Come on, Edith. I just want to go to work and not deal with those darkies. But I gotta stop the Nazis, Archie. I'd pay to watch that TV show. So funny. Thank you, Metamorphosis. That made my day. That's the funniest thing I'm probably going to see all week. I generally show that Scott Logan. Yes, absolutely. Cyclops could one-shot Wolverine if he full power blast to the face, no saving throw. You are incorrect because Clobby's. I don't know who Clobby is. I can't argue this point. I don't know. Here's another comment: supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, or throw Wolverine into the sun. Phantom Outside just reminded me where it happened. Where did it happen? Oh, okay. I will say now there's a lot of people that believe in their own generalization. So yes. People, yeah, I agree. And that here's Marcus doing the right thing. Remember, I have a comic book out. And if all 47 of you who are watching this back my comic, it would be wonderful. It would be so wonderful. My top 3 are Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man's up there too. One day I should make my top 10 superheroes and explain why. That's a good idea. I need more moderators. No, these comments are fine. These comments are fine. I just have a policy to I try to address every comment unless it's saying hi Dale. You know what I mean? So I like the interaction. That's why I do this, to interact with people, to talk about comics. So I just you guys are messing with me by keep commenting because I'm too anal retentive. I don't want to say OCD, but I have to get to the bottom before I can turn the page. Otherwise, my reality will die. I hate multiverses. If there was no more than 20 universes that are super different than one thing, but infinite, yeah. Again, I'll explain how the universes work in Heroic Tales number 4. That's the schedule. Thank goodness Phantom Outsider is here. Yeah, thank goodness everybody's here. I'll be back next paycheck. I'll back next paycheck. I thought you were okay. Thank you. I'm sorry if I came off as whiny and begging. I was kind of joking. Marcus wants to sleep in. He deserves to sleep in. It's Father's Day. Go get your breakfast in bed, even though that's gross. But has heard the perfect logic of Clobby's law first. Okay, could you email me or put it in? If you put it in the chat, I'll lose it. If you put it in the comments, I'll read it. I don't know what Clobby's law is. Maybe I did and I don't remember, but whatever. He could knock him out of his animate and prevent decapitation, but Cyclops, yeah, he could. Marcus is calling in sick. You need another person to drop links. Lol. Hey, John, with both Superman and Fantastic Four movies, as a fan, which one are you looking forward to the most? Is it cynical? Am I a party birthday party clown if I say I'm not looking forward to either one of them? At this point, I've become comfortably numb. I've become numb to all of this stuff, and I've been burnt, too many times before. So I manage my expectations to the point where if it's bad, that's what I expected. If it's good, then I'm super happy, over the moon. Now, logically, I want them to be good. I want them to be wonderful. I want them to be success. I'm not rooting for them to be bad. I don't have one of those channels where bad movies means I get more views and super chats. No, I'm rooting for them to be good. But from I'm, as a student of history and a logical thinker and seeing how everything is, I just don't think either one of them are going to be any good. But I want them to be good. How's that? Spider-Man, Hawkeye, I like underdog characters a lot. Aquaman and Batman. I'm so glad you're a fan of Aquaman. I'm so glad you're a fan of Aquaman. You're awesome. I agree about the movies. Oh, wow. Did I make it to the bottom? Clobby destroyed the idea of one malleable timeline forever with logic and you. I don't know what this is. Clobby, is this like a philosopher? Is this a YouTube guy? I don't know what this is. Please, I'm really curious. I'm not being facetious or anything. Let me know about this. I dread both movies. As in Superman, I fear for Crypto. In the FF, I see mostly cringe. I can't disagree. The only problem with running a channel, you will become exclusive. It sucks, but it makes you a better manager. That's the problem with running a channel. You will become exclusive. Yeah. Like I have a policy that I address every comment in my comments, but my reaction to your boy Zach, I it, I just got 3 comments, and the Liam one is going to be out. So and some of those comments are just you're a jerk. You know what I mean? So I tried. I'm that's one of the things I'm going to do after this video is write some Patriarch. I got to get the Patriarch 1 script out to Renzo because he's basically finished with Heroic Tales number 2, and I don't want him to seek other work. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to be going through comments. Fandom Clobber at times was a YouTuber. His channel's still active, but the man sadly. There was a channel called It's Clobber Time. I hope nobody thinks I stole it. Isn't Clobber that British mascot that does wacky things to unsuspecting? Ooh. Come on, guys. I was almost done. It's okay to hope for something to be good, but not. Yes. John is courting controversy to drum up attention for Heroic Tales 2. If it happens, I didn't intend for it, but I'll accept it. I don't intend for a lot of things. It's not like the only thing I plan ahead is stories. Everything else I'm playing by cuff. Well, my favorite heroes have always been Batman. See, I don't like the Bat God version of Batman, but you do you. Thor, Captain America, and Hawkeye. Clobby, rip. Using my real name keeps me from leaving nasty comments. That would be funny to make up a fake name, Marcus, and say what you really feel. Hopefully, this is the bottom. It is. Okay, boom. Next page. Bite into a Slim Jim. Get yourself a goatee. Who else wants a He-Man body? And there we go. Sheesh. And that nut had the nerve to call me a crazy man. So, refresh, because it's been 16 hours since the last page. Cyclops said, I'm the leader. Save yourselves. Come back for me. So Storm has the power of flight. I know they say that the winds, and her cape cause her to fly, but she has the power to fly because, she would be flying like a dish rag, like a leaf, flopping around and everything like that. She could fly. And not only could she fly, she has super strength because Wolverine, he's got the adamantium bones. At this point, they didn't know that, but, and Nightcrawler, I don't think Nightcrawler is too heavy. He's lithe, but for a woman to carry two full-grown men without, complaining, she's got some form of enhanced strength, and that don't bother me. She is supposed to be like a regal, strong woman. Like if you were to put boxing gloves on Storm and she boxes other women, she's gonna crush most women, even without her powers. I got no problems with that. So here's Colossus. Hey, I'm alive. I'm cool. Oh, I wanted to adjust this. Sheesh. And that nut had the nerve to call me a crazy man. That is Wolverine's way of saying I'm impressed. But you know what I mean? He is a wild renegade. He's a rebel daddy, a loner. That is his way of saying, geez, I'm getting respect for this guy. He right. He literally is sacrificing himself for Wolverine right now. And Wolverine acknowledges that in his own idiom. Come on, Banshee, get the lead out. If you're not coming up here soon, you'll be scraping me off the mountain with a very thin spatula. I've always remembered that line. Looks like you've had it, Summers. Funny, I always figured my number would come up, son, but I never thought it would be like this. You took your time about picking me up. So, look at it. He's sweating. He's panicking. He did the right thing. Cyclops is a good guy. He's a hero. Hero involves sacrifice. Cyclops literally was willing to sacrifice himself for his teammates. He's a good guy. What's not to like? And here's the rest of the team. They made it down. How did Thunderbird get down? Oh, that's right. Banshee carried Thunderbird and then came back. All right, and I love this because I think they were really setting you up to think that Cyclops was the one that dies. All right, X-Men, according to the blah, blah, blah. Even Thunderbird now is starting to accept Cyclops as the real deal Holyfield, and boom, he teleports. He's inside and he gets zapped. We are now seeing that Dave Cockrum's favorite is Nightcrawler, and you're going to see like Nightcrawler getting cooler and cooler and cooler. I get to turn the page. Let's see if there's 900 comments. Next week's guest, Charles Manson. Is Charles Manson still alive? Is my brain malfunctioning? Did he die recently? Join the Clobbering Times. It's just over 700 shows dealing in comics, sci-fi. Okay. And he died. Poor guy. Someday you're just gonna. What happened to John's Longbox? He just stopped making videos. I guess he's dead in his chair. I'm eating too much bacon, egg, and cheese. Happy Father's Day, gents. You may all have a blessed day with your families and do absolutely fantastic. I absolutely agree. I was kidding about Batman being a god. He's literally the most fallible. Yeah, he should be. He should be. I really like what I call the Detective Batman. It is my favorite Batman. Back to the Future absolutely has precisely 3 timelines. I never saw the third Back to the Future. Salute and happy Father's Day and good morning. Good morning. Absolutely. Okay, cool. That group of chats I could handle pretty well. Look, friends, you could win your choice of neat prizes. This poor guy couldn't come up with a better picture for this guy. This guy got teased in school. And here we go. So Nightcrawler is attacked by the Frogman. But you're still conscious? I hit you hard enough to flatten a dozen men. Perhaps. But like Nightcrawler is not precisely a man. Ooh, did Nightcrawler just admit that he's transgender? It's canonically now that Nightcrawler just, because he's not precisely a man. He's non-binary. He's transgender. Better cut off his penis. It's the only acceptable thing to do now. It's the only compassionate thing to do is to mutilate his genitals. So I love the Ani-Men. The Ani-Men showed up. The only other appearance I could think of the Ani-Men, but I know they had other. They're hired goons who wear these suits that replicate animal powers. So that guy's literally a guy in a frog costume, and the frog costume enhances his agility and strength and everything like that. And they're hired mercenaries, the Ani-Men. They've died, but they just give the suit to the next poor schlub. I do not wish to hurt you, Herr Frog. Don't call me that. I ain't no freaking frog. I'm a man. I ain't no mutant like you. You know, bam, boom, and he just wallops him. This is why everybody likes Nightcrawler. He was just so cool. Croker, you unmitigated idiot. You had to try and defeat the X-Men on your own. You couldn't have summoned aid. What's the hassle, boss? So here we got the Catman. I love it. He's smoking a cigar over here. I don't even remember. Insectra, something like that. She had a weird name. So here we got Nightcrawler walking around, and he opens up the door. Nightcrawler, all right, people, we got our door. They conveniently just landed next to the door. That's so nice. They don't have to walk. But you know what I mean? It's just typical comic books. It would have been boring to show them marching to find this entrance. So that's one of those things that we just accept. Let's get inside. We have a talking frogman. Is it my imagination, lad, or is it getting stuffy in here? So they're all starting to sweat. Where's the comment? Where's the comments? After last night, yeah. I'm only talking about the first movie. The sequels aren't CA. Okay. In the first movie, there was 3 timelines. Okay. It's been so long. You're probably right. I mean, who am I going to argue with a Time Lord? Tim Olson, good morning. The third Back to the Future takes place in the Wild West. And I got to see it because I do enjoy those movies. I really like the second movie. I mean, I love the first movie. And I refused to see the sequel in the movie theater because I thought it would ruin my enjoyment of the first movie. So I saw it on cable finally one day, and I really, really liked it. I watched it over and over again, looking for mistakes and things like that. It's been so long, I got to rewatch it. I really did enjoy it. And to me, it breaks a lot of time travel rules, but but it's a popcorn movie. It's, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's perfect for its purpose, if that makes sense. The sequels aren't canon, obviously. Saying hello. Who said? Back to the Future is one of the best trilogies. I gotta see the third one. Not, and I keep forgetting about it. I gotta see it. Only talking about the first Back to the Future. 3 timelines in the first movie. Okay. Not remotely talking about the sequels. Yeah, it gets really complicated if you want to map it out. I thought Ani-Men were genetically altered. Cat by Parody View is spot on. They were fun for once. Yeah, but that's still fun. You talking about the Back to the Future sequels? Hey, Doc Blaylock is here. Good morning. Good morning, Doc. How you doing? For Doc Blaylock, he's got a damn dirty thing. Damn dirty thing. I didn't read this yet, but I read the comic. Comics get priority over books without pictures. What are we, barbarians? Good morning, John. You must be live off of coffee right now. What's up, Doc? And greetings, chat. And check out Dave Brink's Genuine Comics. Awesome comics. Awesome comics. We got, what's this guy's name? Bodybuilding, introducing body. What's this guy's name? Is this Mike Marvel? Oh, this is Maury Mitchell. Maury Mitchell. Oh, that would be interesting. You get Mike Marvel, Maury Mitchell, Count Dante, Charles Atlas, all of the comic book super muscle men on a team, the League of Extraordinary Muscle Men or something like that, or just the Muscle Men. There you go. The comic book idea is free for you all. Free for you all. Irish has a point, One Eye. I kind of feel woozy myself, and I've felt this way before. Are they making a drunk Indian joke? Are they making a drunk Indian joke? There's your answer. Gas. And so a big gas cloud shows up. I love this silhouette of them like, we got to get out of here. All of you smash through the wall to the next tunnel. So we got the heavy hitters. We got Wolverine. We got Cyclops smashing through the wall. Here come the guards. Now, remember, these guards are just government workers. I'll shield the bullets. Cyclops, we can't stay at I know, Storm, but we can't hurt those soldiers. They're not responsible for their eyes. Look at them. They've been hypnotized. So I forgot about that. So their agency is taken away. Very well. If you not hurt these soldiers, they will not be hurt, but they will be stopped. So Storm whips up a storm, a flood, gets rid of the gas, gets rid of the soldiers. I think we may proceed now, Cyclops. The soldiers will not bother us anymore. And I love that. She's got like a wry smile. And Cyclops is like, damn, girl. Damn, girl. It's still the same Cap. Oh, where are we? Oh, I jumped ahead. So we got Damn Dirty Thing, a Pariah story. That's what I just showed. Logic Phoenix. There are no time travel rules, only whatever the writer wants. Yes, but can we agree that you got to be logically consistent? Everything time travel is pure speculation until we have to. Absolutely, I agree. I don't even mention any of the logic paradigm. I do if the writer breaks their rules, like Doctor Who, time is timey-wimey unless it's a fixed point because Amy Pond needs to be stuck in the past. What is a fixed point would create, you got to, time travel. Doctor Who is the worst as far as continuity with time travel, but I agree. The writer sets the rules for the time travel and they make whatever rules they want. Absolutely. Genuine Comics, check out Genuine Comics. And also check out Heroic Tales #2. Predictable. Where I asked to write my X-Men group, Colossus would always be in it. Yeah, if I was to write my X-Men group, I would put Warpath in it too. Thunderbird's just got such a cool costume. Time travel isn't real. Grandfather paradox is still a thing. Thank you, Marcus. No one cares about Clubby's law. This is the first time hearing about it. Just want to say, John, you're a good guy. Thank you. I'm a good guy. I try to be a good guy. I fail. Failed this week. Failed this weekend. Broke my rules. I created my own paradox of my rules. So now we got Gort. So this version of the Ani-Men, they have individual names. Instead of Frogman, he was Croaker. Instead of Ape-Man, he's Gort. I forget the girl's name, but these guys have like superhero names. In the Daredevil comic that they were literally Catman, Frogman, Ape-Man, But Count Nefaria, I guess he's paying them more. He's getting more elite guys, so you get the with the higher rate of pay, you get the individual names. Do you just want the generic Ani-Men, or do you want the elite cool superhero name? Count Nefaria's got some bucks. He's an old school European. So Gort is just smashing them around. Cyclops, it's the Man Frog I told you of, and he's got the rest of Nefaria's Ani-Men with him. Take them down hard. So we got a little bit of action over here. I love this. Storm is engaging in fisticuffs over here. Storm now throws a lightning bolt. Thus, in the beginning, weakness, fatigue, the surprise and ferocity of the ambush take the deadly toll. And, we got this cat guy fighting Wolverine. You think you're a hotshot with those metal claws? How muty? Well, my claws ain't fake. They're real. And they can kill. Now, there's two ways to interpret that. Is he saying that Wolverine's claws are fake, which means that the writers thought that these were just fake claws installed on the gloves? Well, at one point, that's what they thought. At one point, that's what they thought, that they were retractable claws built into the gloves. Or is he saying that, my claws aren't fake. These aren't just show claws. They're real claws. We'll never know. 'Tis a mystery. So here he is. Wolverine is getting defeated by this cat being, and then Colossus literally saves his life. I grabbed it. Colossus. And while Colossus lives, the Wolverine will not be harmed. Where are we? Ooh. Okay, Marcus Kelligrew. Downtiming the Night Side by Jack L. Chalker is a great time travel. I never heard of it. I love a good time travel story. Classic Doctor Who was pure canon. No argument. No argument. But even Doctor Who was fast. Even classic Doctor Who, there was some problems with continuity, but I tend to think that the problems in continuity with the original Doctor Who were more of just like, it's been going on for 10 years and it's impossible to keep everything a record. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff I'm forgiving with. But like new Doctor Who has gone full inconsistency. Please stop saying Doctor Who doesn't follow canon. Who? Yeah, I agree. I think we're on the same page. The new Doctor Who, they didn't care, and they went with the rule of cool. And they actively, in my opinion, they just actively didn't care about what happened to the old Doctor Who, if it meant that they get to tell the story that they wanted to tell. That to me is not forgivable. The problems in the original Doctor Who, well, logic is going to eviscerate me for saying that there were problems. I think it was just made of like a lot of the Stan Lee continuity errors. It's not because he hated the characters. Far from it. He loved these characters. It was just like I can't keep track of all the details, kind of thing. You know what I mean? That to me is forgivable because that's human. But the new Doctor Who, these progressive, they're not humans. They're not humans, Dottie. Time travel is one of the tougher. Yes, absolutely. The writers set the rules of time travel. It's no different than magic and supernatural. Yes, but be consistent. That's all you got to do. There's time travel stories that I don't like. Like, to me, it makes no sense that the picture fades away, but it's a great visual representation and it explains the story and it sets the stakes. So it works in its purpose and it works for Back to the Future. To me, it logically doesn't make sense, but it doesn't ruin the movie because it works in the stated purpose of that movie. Is that making sense? There's one rule. I don't know who Clobby is. You quoting an authority that I don't know. My group would be Cyclops, Jean, Gambit, Rogue, Iceman, Nightcrawler, and Kitty Pryde. It drives me nuts that she's Kitty Pryde. She's got to have a superhero name. Everybody else, they're literally protecting their identities from the world that hates mutants, and she goes around as Kitty Pryde. Got to have a super. So what is Shadowcat? And I never liked Rogue. Eric is simply incorrect. The Ani-Men were created by Wally Wood and Bob Powell. Cool. No one cares. Cap? Who's Cap? Oh, you two are fighting. Okay. Cap. Okay. That you guys can fight. But this is a geek fight. Geek fights are all that. Hated the origin they gave Logan. Barry Smith's Weapon X was enough. Sometimes it's sometimes leave it alone. Sometimes they leave it alone, and I agree. Love the Wolverine origin. Never got into Doctor Who. Well, don't bother now. Don't let continuity get in the way. If there's no point in continuity, then there is no good story. If you set up that everybody lives on Earth and then the next story everybody lives on Jupiter, then it's not the same people. You know what I mean? And I know that's an extreme example, but I hope you understand my point. You have to have continuity for there to be a story. Unless you're talking about like Tom and Jerry, where every episode exists independently of every other episode, like Bugs Bunny and things like that. Mickey Mouse. Logic, Furnace, and Scarecrow are simply incorrect. Okay, I'm done with Clobby's Law. I'm not bringing up any more comments about Clobby's Law. Doctor Who's boring. I used to really love Doctor Who. It's a shame. I'm still curious. Was Magneto's origin the same as the movies, or was it different? I would Google it, but I don't know. Yeah, Magneto is a brilliant character. His origin, the whole concentration camp thing. It's a perfect example of it's not a retcon. It's a adding to, not changing. So yeah, Wolverine's origin in the movie, the first movie, is pretty much what I know. Did I say Wolverine? I meant to say Magneto's origin in the first movie, as far as I remember, is pretty much what it is in the comics. There were no inconsistencies. Okay, the Time Lords had godlike powers in their first appearance in the War Games, but those powers never. Yeah, they did in the War Games. That's the 10-episode series where they just run around and then the Time Lords show up. That's all I really remember about that. But that was the end of that was the end of the first Doctor into the second Doctor, right? I remember buying Kitty Pryde action figures. It's Shadowcat. I blocked him. The world hates and fears mutants, but mobs the things for autograph. I never. Yes. I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. I think I was just talking about this. Now, as much as I read Marvel Comics, and as much as I obsess about it, and as much as I pick this part of stuff, it's not clear to me if the humanity as a whole understands the difference between who's a superhero. Like to me, my term that I think is a mutate. A mutate would be somebody born a human who got powers, like the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man are mutates or mutants. Mutants are people born with mutant powers. And I always laugh that a mutant means that it's different than its parents. So that if Cyclops had a kid and that kid had eye beams, that kid's not a mutant because it's like its parents. But that's just me being a jerk. And I fully admit that I'm a jerk. So does humanity know that Spider-Man was once human who got powers? And do they know his origin? And if so, wouldn't people be replicating his origin? So, and if they don't know his origin, why don't they hate him like a mutant? Like the Fantastic Four, I think everything about the Fantastic Four is transparent. No pun. No, I didn't mean to say that about the Invisible Woman, but you get what I'm saying. I think everything about the Fantastic Four is open to the public. So I don't know. It does make sense. Well, the Hulk caused more damage. He's not a mutant. Chris Claremont retconned Magneto. Did he physically change his story, or did he add to his story? Because to me, that's the difference between a retcon and adding. No Carter, nothing matters. Well, absolutely. Thank you, David Brick. Without continuity. Wow, can you hear my phone just going off? I got to. There you go. Sound is off. No continuity. Absolutely. You need continuity, keeps people from getting confused, which is why you need to think about your stories. Don't tell that story that writes you into a box, and then you just got to either forget about it. The beautiful thing about comic books is you have Doctor Stranges. Like, to be the biggest egregious example of we got continuity. Oh no, we were in a box. We don't. Was the Mephisto one new day? He just came in, snapped his fingers, changed all of continuity. Now, you have to kind of accept that because we buy into the world where there is a Mephisto, and we accept Beyonders and things like that. So yeah, there are get out of jail free cards when it comes to continuity, but they should be like we pretend abortion should be rare, safe, and legal kind of thing. But that those get out of jail cards shouldn't be played because then it's the same as there is no continuity. Continuity is the key because it's fiction. That's a good way to put it. Magneto had no backstory. He was just Magnus from parts of no Claremont retcon. Yeah, but now logic's going to argue with me, and I'm not being combative. I'm just explaining my logic. If his past was a blank, writing on that blank is not a retcon. A retcon means I'm making this up just for the sake of argument. Okay, so we have Magneto, and Magneto was a survivor from the planet Geranium. And everybody on Geranium has magnetic powers, and he comes to Earth and he wants to conquer the Earth. And then Chris Claremont says, no, he never was from Geranium. He's a Holocaust survivor. That's a retcon. If Wolverine's running around for 30 years and he has, and then they find out Barry Windsor Smith didn't retcon Wolverine, as far as I know. He added to the parts unknown. That's fine with me. That's fine with me. It's when they actively change another story it becomes a retcon, and that I don't like. With few rare exceptions, because if you accept Magneto and Beyonder, you can accept that the past can get changed. Speaking of time travel, John, what do you think about Doomsday in DC? Each time he's defeated, he evolves, and now to the point where that's news to me. That's news to me. I stopped Marvel and DC in 2015, so Doomsday is a timekeeper. To me, Doomsday just works best as this unstoppable force of nature, that is strong enough to kill Superman. So you defeat him, he lays dormant till he heals, and then he rises again, and everybody's got to team up. But everybody else is smarter. Doomsday's got more experience points. He levels up. I don't know. I could see that he learns from he's a android or synthetic being that's programmed to learn like an AI. But if it could all of a sudden spontaneously generate time travel power, what does it mean to be a time travel? Then I don't know. So now he can time travel. So why didn't he defeat Superman? If he could time travel, then time travel and defeat Superman before they even met. I never watched Doctor Who religiously, maybe a handful of original episodes, but my mother-in-law buys me Doctor Who shirts and merch because she thinks I'm into anything. That's nice. That's nice. My favorite mutant power is from the character Cypher, which is the ability to understand verbal language. Yeah, that is a cool power. And it's an underrated power. I made up an NPC called Pentecost. And Pentecost has the ability to understand and communicate in any language, written or spoken, inspired by the Pentecost Sunday, when the Holy Spirit gave the apostles the ability to speak any. So Pentecost has that power. Does she run out and punch Magneto in the face? No, she's like the Oracle character in my universe. You know what I mean? I never heard of Doctor Who. Now I know you being. And Doctor Who, Tom Baker's everybody's favorite. I do love Back to the Future. Everybody loves Back to the Future. It's fun. Classic Doctor Who was episodic. I think there was continuity in the Ninth Doctor. Some of the Ninth. I like the new Doctor Who. I like the new Doctor Who up until somewhere in the middle of Capaldi, and there was hiccups. Every once in a while there was a hiccup, but the overall enjoyment was better than the overall disappointment. Somewhere along the way, the disappointment outweighed the enjoyment. And then the female Doctor, I was just watching that out of habit. And then the Endless Child, not the Endless Child, whatever. I'm the Doctor. That was it. That was the last episode of Doctor I've ever watched. It's hard to be consistent in comics because there's so many creative teams. It's nearly impossible. Absolutely. That's why Jim Shooter was a tyrant. That's why Jim Shooter was hated by all the creative teams. He was actively involved in every part of the story because he was the custodian of all things Marvel. And that's why he was a problem. Oh, War Games with Patrick Troughton. Okay, the second Doctor. And that's right, Jon Pertwee. Okay. I love Jon Pertwee. He's one of my favorite Doctors. Jon Pertwee was so cool because he knew Venusian Kung Fu. John, would you consider Steve Rogers being on? Absolutely. That's what the super soldier serum is, the ultimate steroid. It's the ultimate steroid. Yeah, that's why Steve Rogers can't be in the Olympics. You know what I mean? So's the Hulk. The Hulk is on a performance-enhancing drug, gamma radiation. Yeah, see, okay, so now I have opposing comments over here. Claremont didn't retcon. He gave Magneto a backstory, which he lacked. Okay, and then he says, no, Claremont completely changed background story since he was Magnus from parts of known. Claremont has reckoned that he retconned him into Eric. Right. I think both are true. And I think Claremont, this is going to be arrogant to me, doesn't understand the difference between a retcon and then just adding. You know what I mean? It's just like sometimes in Marvel, people use mutant when they mean mutate and mutate when they mean mutant. You know what I mean? And just like when I witnessed, people thought that the Inhumans debuted in the Avengers. You know, I think these nerd terms like retcon, stuff like that, like I think different people will define it differently. But this to me, I'm not going to fight you guys on this, but I think that I don't think it's a retcon in the way I define the term is you're actively changing something else. if you're adding to parts unknown, that's not a retcon. And for the most part, I'm fine with it as long as it's a good story. But I don't like when they're like, you make up your pet character and then you insert them into all the stories. You know, like what they're doing with Kamala Khan, as far as I know, and I didn't read them, it's a retcon. But if you would, not change established story and insert Kamala Khan, kind of like what Bendis did with Jessica, what's her name? Jessica Jones. He inserted Jessica Jones into Peter Parker's past, but he did it in a way that she wasn't, involved in the stories. That she was a girl that Peter Parker knew from high school. I think she was a year younger than Peter Parker in high school, and she had a crush on Peter Parker. So that's why, and she was shy, so she never interacted with Peter Parker. And then her family was in a car accident, the incident that gave her, and she was in a coma. So that's why she's not part. Is that a retcon? No, it's just a way to insert because let's face it, Jessica Jones is Brian Bendis' pet character into a story. Sometimes people do it less skillfully, and they just like, usurping their the work that other people like. The Blue Marvel, Kevin Garreau, who I like, is a good guy. He just came in and made up the Blue Marvel, and then retroactively said that he was the most powerful, blah 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 blah. But he sat still and did nothing. That was the. Not only was it, so he made up his pet character who's better than everybody else, more powerful than everybody else, but I can't change continuity, so I'm going to say he just sat on the bench. You made the lousiest superhero in the world. I'm so powerful, but I do nothing because I don't want to change continuity. That was a bad retcon. Not a retcon, insert. Now I'm confusing myself. I would, Tony, same with Sentry. Continuity matters long. Yeah, there would be, well, but yes. I agree with this, even though I can't read the comments anymore. You could have episodic stories like Tom and Jerry and get away with no content, but yes, absolutely. I agree with John. Thank you. Can we get a t-shirt of that? I agree with John. Let's get t-shirts. Can we agree that continuity with one issue or one movie is a pretty good idea? Yeah. Yes. Continuity really matters long form story, not so much a short story. Well, if in a short story, there has to be continuity within the story. Phil Moskowitz pulls out his 44 Magnum and blows away the bad guys. And then in the next page, he has a golden Luger. So we all agree the continuity is more important than we realize. We just take it for granted that, Phil Moskowitz, Polish American on page 12 is not a Japanese woman on page 13. I mean, I'm being silly for the sake of making a point. Continuity is all important in storytelling. We all agree to that in some form or another. The problem breaks down like all of our lives soap opera. I'm sure there's continuity errors, and I don't know. I don't watch it. I'm just making it up. But it's a long form story, so product. You know what I mean? Like one of the characters has a baby. That character needs to have that baby for the rest of eternity. Even if the baby dies, at one point they still had that baby. Now the problems are they have a baby and then 3 months later the kid's 7 years old. You know what I mean? That's a break in continuity. But you know what I mean? I'm getting way into the weeds now. What do you think about Days of X-Men Future Past, both the comics and the movie? It's my favorite X-Men movie. Even though all the X-Men movies are deeply flawed, it's my favorite of the X-Men movie. And I love the comic. Oh my God, that I love that comic. It is so good. It's one of my early Sunday comics. But enough with referencing it. Move on. It's time to move on. Make your own story that is as good as Days of Future Past. To me, that's like stolen gravitas. You're just making a story set in that because you want people to associate you with one of the masters of comic book stories. Wait, to continuity no, that's not what he's saying. He's not what he's saying. Claremont said Magnus had no background. He has no background, but he does have a background. We just don't know his background. If we accept these characters and we accept that this world and we accept that there's a logic to this world, he has a background. We just don't know it. Magnus, that was the name he used. Was it his birth name? I don't think anybody said that he was born Magnus. And then, so in my mind, and again, this isn't worth getting heated over. This is nerd fighting, which I like. He created a backstory for a person who didn't have a backstory. He didn't change. It's not like he is, I am the man with no past, and that's what I'm known as, the man with no past. Like Clint Eastwood's character, Man with No Name. If all of a sudden you were to give him a name and a family life, to me, that's breaking the character, because the character is supposed to be a mystery, or more. My mutant power is the ability to consume enough coffee to kill any 10. I'll be your sidekick. So you're Coffee Man and Java Boy. There you go, Doc. Me and you are a super team. Right? Coffee, good idea. To use his power, Doc loses his hair. Well, that's why I'm not totally bored. I'm only the sidekick. Doomsday is currently vastly intelligent and has time-traveling powers. He makes sure certain events take place. Superman, because he fights with how he evolves the most. Okay. I'll buy that. So he doesn't go back in time to defeat the Superman, because then he wouldn't have evolved that power to defeat the Superman. Okay. I like it. I didn't lose it. It just migrates to parts that we will not discuss. Either way, I like Magnus and Eric. I'm not nerd debating. No, nerd debating is fine. This whole channel is based on nerd debating. Just laying out. Yeah, and at the risk of being arrogant, I don't think Chris Claremont understood the term he was using, because it's a new, made-up, geeky term. It migrates. Two of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who, The Curse of Peladon and The Three Doctors, have someone use the line, Doctor Who? Yeah. Continuity and continuity. Coffee and continuity are my jam. Great show. Off to see my dad. Go see your dad. And consider yourself lucky that you still have a dad. My dad passed years ago. I miss my dad. I miss my mom. I love me some internal consistency. Yes, we all do. Whether we realize it or not, we all do. And we all recognize when continuity is broken to a certain extent. That causes confusion and disjointedness in a story. Isn't Magnus the evil version of Adam Warlock? No, that's Magus. Magus. Magnus is an alias that Magneto used. Peter Capaldi was the 12th Doctor. Christopher Knight, David Tennant was the 10th. My favorite. Yeah, a lot of people like David Tennant. The Animen look silly, kind of like Counter-Earth citizens. I like android minions better. His balls shrank to non-existence. Poor Steve. The X-Men were analog for being Jewish. Then, after Bryan Singer got home, they became analog for being gay. Well, that's the beauty of the X-Men, is you interpret them. You interpret what the X literally stands for random. X factor, random, variations. And you get to, it's one of those rare times where I do accept my representation. But to me, and only me, or you too, but to me, the X-Men represented that nerdy outsider kid who didn't fit in. You know what I mean? And that is valid too. The problem is once they define what the X-Men represents, then you alienate everybody else. That's why Stan Lee was a genius, and modern people in Marvel are not. Doc Blaylock has consistencies in stories. It's one of his best features. I think adding the blanks to a more character development than a retcon, it could be wrong. I read that wrong. I think adding to the blanks is more of character development. Yes, I agree. Retcon to me, and I'm not the boss, is when you actively change what was explicitly stated. Thanks, Cap. I try. There goes Doc Blaylock. The lady say, no retcons with this guy. Yeah, there you go. What's his name? Blue Marvel or the Blue Devil? I was talking about the Blue Marvel. There are two characters. Marvel has a character called the Blue Marvel, who is retroactively the most powerful, bestest, G-swells, doggonest character of all, who did nothing. To me, he didn't earn that right. He didn't earn that right. My comic book is boring as F, but it's internally consistent. Question, John, isn't that you dismissing what the creator says just because you disagree? Kind of. That's the height of a fan arrogance. Suggest we know the person. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I just think that, like, he said it was a retcon, but define retcon then. What does retcon mean? To me, a retroactive continuity is it's retroactively changing continuity. If it's changing, then it's a retcon. It already existed this way, but we're retroactively changing it. If it didn't exist, we can't retroactively change it if it didn't exist. That's but I agree. It is kind of arrogant. And I said that when I said that I'm disagreeing with Chris Claremont, and who am I to disagree? I agree with you, John. T-shirts, get them right here. There we go. It would make for a great discussion. It would. Yeah, it is it's a fun, nerdy discussion. I missed last night's stream with Liam Gray. I caught a piece of it. What a doozy. Yeah. Trashcast, here I come. Think of me as Captain Continuity. There you go. It's all I got. Alter Ego Cap, I like it. Have you covered Count Nefaria versus the Avengers? Yes, and I plan on doing it again now that I actually have an audience. Yes, that's one of my favorite. Garfield, salute. That and a firm belief that there's more than one universe, but it's literally my handle. Oh, Captain Finity, duh. Sometimes it's so obvious you don't see it. Continuity is like the laws of times. You can't change the past, or you should change the history. That depends on the author. You know what I mean? But that depends on the author. And if it's a good story, then and you're consistent and you got a good idea, that it works. My rules of time travel are my rules of time travel. Doesn't mean yours are wrong. I'm a jerk that gets annoyed by other people's time travel rules, but they're not wrong if it works within the context of their story. High logic. The past is a lock with or without time travel. That's the way I think of it. And I actually have a loophole mechanism where you can change the past. You know what I mean? There is a loophole where you can change the past. But you'll see. I just don't like I just don't like actually continuity. It's obviously important where it counts. Don't like getting bogged in. I could see that. And the casual comic fan doesn't care either. It's lunatics like myself that care. You know what I mean? The person, I like Star Trek, and they're like, yeah, but in episode 4 with Spock's anus, he said this, and the Andorians are on the Vega system, not the Ligurian. And the average fan goes, oh God, I don't care. You know, it's only lunatics. But to me, that is the difference between a casual and a nerd. A nerd loves all the silly little nerdy details. My mutant power would be water manipulation. You'd be super powerful. Coffee Man, Java Boy, and Creamer Kid. Ooh, I don't want Creamer Kid. Sorry, Eric. I don't want Creamer Kid. Milk Boy, but not Creamer Kid. Good morning, Jim. How you doing? I love Jim's art. Great art. Jim's artwork is very reminiscent to John Byrne. John is correct. Again, get the T-shirts. I'm glad we agree on something. I'm going to celebrate with coffee. There you go. Celebrate with coffee. Would you say that in real life people act out of character because humans change all the time? I'm acting out of character this weekend, so I can't disagree. I have a way that I tried to act, especially online. And then Friday I woke up and broke all my rules. So I'm acting out of continuity. But I can't retcon it because it already happened and there's only one timeline. John, I question how you say who's made something doesn't understand what he created because you personally disagree with her. I didn't say that. I said he totally understood Magneto. He totally understood, but I think he just didn't understand a word definition because that word didn't have a definition because that word was just created, you know, like a warp drive. What so many people, including Star Trek, didn't know what warp drive actually did, but they wrote it in the story. They were the experts. They wrote the story, but they didn't understand. They didn't understand warp drive, what the actual physics behind it. Doesn't mean they were wrong. It just means, and that's why, we're humans. Continuity, Doc Blake. You back when the X-Men was for everyone, not for certain. Exactly. Once you define what they are, yeah. Blue Marcus. The Blue Marcus was created by Mr. and Mrs. Marcus. Mr. and Mrs. Keller Group was created by Kevin Garreau. Yes, who's a personal friend of one of my buddies. It's Jim Marcus, but I've been called worse. Blue Marvel and the Sentry are basically the same. Overpowered. However, I love the Sentry. I love the Sentry because the whole uncertainty and mental issues and did he or did he not do it is all part of the character. I thought it was brilliant. And I know a lot of people don't like the Sentry. And I don't like what the Sentry became after who was it? Paul Jenkins. After Paul Jenkins left the Sentry, he became just overpowered boy. But the Sentry, he's his origin is under question. He himself he should be called the Gaslighter. That's his name. Because even he got steadily into this hoax and everything like that, and it's all part of like the I really do think he's a brilliant character, and I think he's one of those characters that shouldn't be like Galactus. He shows up once in a while. Why? Because he's dealing with this insanity. If he becomes a regular character in any comic, it diminishes what he was supposed to be. But he was supposed to be this uncertainty prism. Is he really from the past? Is he really retroactively? Was he really created? Or is this so powerful and he's literally influencing everybody's minds, that he's causing us to think and doubt because he's that powerful and he's that insane? I thought he was brilliant. In my headcanon, he got those powers when the comic came out and then used his mental abilities to basically insert himself into everybody else's life. That's the way I think of it. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how Paul Jenkins made to think of it, but until I know, and then Brian Bendis came in and peed all over the character. The Korvac saga. Who created Lobo? Was Lobo's character? Was it Alan Grant? Did Alan Grant create Lobo? Alan Grant and Keith Giffen? Like Deadpool having no character until Fabian Nicieza gave him a personality. No worries. John, I want Marcus to retcon Magneto into him, played by Sidney. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with anybody being portrayed by Sydney Sweeney. I will destroy that loophole. That's my job. There you go. That would be funny. Omni, that is probably why Blue Marvel isn't used much. He's too similar to existing heroes and he can't find a place. Yeah, and he stumbled out of the gate. I'm the most powerful, brilliant, bestest, swellest, dosh gone it best superhero who chose to do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and this is going to stir up a hornet's nest. Like, to me, George Washington owned slaves. Okay, not to me. It's a fact. He owned slaves. To judge him by today's standards is presentism, and we can't do that. I mean, we can do it, but it's not right. To condemn him now by today's moral standards, he was just a human of his time. He never claimed to have connections to the spiritual, supernatural, or omniscience. So he behaved like everybody else on that at the time. If Blue Marvel, who existed in the time of George Washington, objected to slavery and had the power to do nothing about it and chose not to do anything about it, he's a lousy hero. If Superman sees somebody falling off a building and chooses not to save that person, he's a lousy hero. You know what I mean? But Superman can't go back in time. Yes, I mean, you get what I'm saying. So if the Blue Marvel was there during what he considers the most oppressive time in human history and chose to and had the power to do something about it, that's not a superhero. He's a lousy superhero. So that's why I have a problem. First off, he's just gosh darn it, I'm the best. That to me is a weak. When you make up a Mary Sue and then say that the Mary Sue can't do anything because he chose not to do anything, that is just the worst. That is just the worst. LIFO likes to take credit for Deadpool. Well, he did not made the character popular. Yeah, he was just generic character number 7 until Liefeld, until Fabian Nicieza and Louis Simonson made him what he is. There you go. Marcus has got the finger on the ball. Star Trek is not sci-fi. It's a novella with space theme. I don't know how to respond to that. That's too high an honor, John, but oh, wow, am I that far back? When I compared you to John Byrne? Yeah, businesses had target audience, but shouldn't stop the business for expanding their audience and making it for everybody. That's the big problem, John. Hardcore fans and nerds make something famous, but Hollywood makes those films. Yes, but for the casual masses, classic nerd conundrum. Yes. We overestimate our influence, power, and everything. We are comic book fans are tiny. Look at the sales. You know, I just had to eat something. My stomach is growling. Got a piece of Reese's peanut butter cup. Got to have a Snickers. We overestimate. And I'm not ripping on anybody, but we're looking at Comicsgate numbers as success. And they sold 10,000 copies. Man, I wish I sold 10,000 copies. Man, I would be dancing in the streets. If Dave Brink sold 10,000 copies of Perfect 10 number 7, oh my God, I think Dave Brink would explode from happiness. If I sold, but 10,000 is nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's good for us, but it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. The average person doesn't know Comicsgate. The average person doesn't know Rippaverse. The average person doesn't know Longbox Comics. The average person doesn't care, and that's just the way it is. So when we get so when Hollywood spends $100 million on niche product, they're going to make sure that they get their money. I'm more amazed when a superhero story, comic book story, is done like the comic book. I understand why they change things, but for the most part, they don't. The changes to me are poor. It's made by people who don't understand the comics. I would love if they got a team of people who love these characters, but also understand that they got to protect the investor's investment, and they come up with changes that make sense. And early Marvel movies, they did that. They changed what needed to be changed. They cleaned up what needed to be cleaned up. They weren't exactly 100% comic book accurate, but they did a really good job. Somewhere along the way, they changed things because they wanted to change them to put their spin on them. Like Peter Jackson said when he made the Lord of the Rings, we are bringing Tolkien's vision to life, not our vision to life. And that's why everybody reveres those Lord of the Rings movies. And the Rings of Power, the writers are bringing they're bringing their vision using Tolkien. That's the difference. It's like those zombie ants, the little ants that go on toads and have the toads do their work. That's what they are. Star Wars isn't fun. I always said that Star Wars is science fantasy and Star Trek is science fiction. Creamer Kid sounds like a cooner. John's lockbox is going in my black book. John! Just don't let your wife see. Who's this guy, John? I don't need calls from your wife needing to explain where I was at 4 a.m. I was talking to Liam Gray, okay? Leave me alone. Protoss first mad Jim Jaspers. Who's going to win? That's a good one. I think Jim Jaspers is more powerful. Can we get on spelling long box? It just sounds right. Star Wars was fantasy and space. People assume if it's in space, it's automatic. Good point. Warp drive isn't real though, or energy shields. And by the way, Star Trek, yeah. And neither is retcons. Retcons aren't real either. The Century was a great concept. I'm glad Dave agrees with me, because if Dave agrees with me, then I know I'm doing the right thing. Time travel isn't real. Bingo. The Sentry was purposely flawed, while the Blue Marvel was purposely perfect. Bravo. Thank you, JP Font. That was perfect. Perfect. And I'm going to take the last bite of my Easter Bunny, which was one giant rabbit-shaped Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. I'm now officially done with Easter. Excellent, JP Font. Perfect summary. Perfect summary. Somebody told me when I was on another channel that they were going to make a comic book and their character was going to be the most powerful superhero. And that their character could beat my character. They could beat Super Saiyan. They could beat Superman. They could beat the Juggernaut. They could beat the Hulk. And I said, great. But doesn't sound like an interesting character. If they could just beat everybody, where's the tension? Where's the flaw? Where's the tension? You know, where's the drama? I have Captain Atlas in my comic books is intentionally overpowered. And I know this is going to sound goofy, but he would give Superman a fight. He would give Superman a fight. He could potentially beat Superman. But I think his weakness is going to make up for it. He's got a very exploitable weakness. Like Captain Marvel, Shazam. Most of the time, he's a little boy. You could take him out, throw a gag on him, cut his throat. Isn't that kind of what Superman did in, you know? Or, you know what I mean? Well, he didn't cut his throat, but you know what I mean? That to me is a good balance of power. What is the Blue Marvel's balance? The fact that he doesn't want to do things? I'm not going to do things. I'm not going to use my power. I'm going to sit in the farm and avoid the world. It's a lousy, lousy hero. Gonna get sticky. We're all traveling at 1 minute into the future at 1 minute in time. Star Wars, the most, oh yes, thank you, Logic. Thank you, Logic. Is the most inconsistent sci-fi. Lucas is a good sci-fi, but not a good, yes. H3 should have let Spielberg make the film. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Don't you start, Doc. You guys getting me out of bed at 4 a.m. for coffee. I love you guys. There you go. Where I assume you're in Britain. Keith Giffen created Lobo. Alan Grant made him awesome. There you go. There you go. Wow. Wow. There's nothing sci-fi about Star Wars. Star Wars sci-fi, so is Harry Potter. Kind of agree. I will say this. The science of Star Wars is important to Star Wars as the magic in Harry Potter is to Harry Potter. If you replaced lightsabers with wands, it would not change the story, you know. Gotta run. Happy Father's Day. What was the point of Blue Marvel? All he does is add to Marvel. Yeah. What does he add? Absolutely. What does he add? We got black guys better than any of these white guys. That's what he adds. That's what he adds. He was a race. He was an identity politics insert, and that's never good. Kevin Garreau, and I like Kevin Garreau. Don't get me wrong. I like Kevin Garreau. Kevin Garreau is a Superman fan. Blue Marvel was an attempt to create it. Yeah, but he did it wrong. He did it wrong. He did it wrong. What do you want me to say? He wanted to make Black Superman, and he did it wrong. Back to the Future is not a documentary. Even documentaries aren't real. I just meant a golden age hero that didn't exist brought into the present. I guess there's another part to that comment that I'm missing. Is Kamala? Yeah, Kamala Khan's right there. Kamala Khan. Does anybody remember Dre? Is that a deep cut from your boy Zach? There's Dre. Why is Joey Lawrence on my thumbnail? Is Joey Lawrence on my thumbnail? Because of my Joey Lawrence bookmark. This is my bookmark. I've had this bookmark for 30 years. This is my bookmark. And I can't get rid of it. If I get rid of this bookmark, I freak out. This is my primary bookmark, meaning whatever has the Joey Lawrence bookmark is the book. It's my prime book. Sometimes I read a book and I'm like, I got to take a book from this break, from this comic. So I'll use a secondary bookmark. Do I have my secondary bookmark over here? I do, but it's underneath a big pile of stuff. and I use my secondary bookmark. But this is the primary. Whoa, he's dreamy. What do you want me to say? But he's on the thumbnail? That's funny. That's funny. Damn it, John, didn't take the bait. What bait? A whole lot of hola. How you doing? Spock's brain is not a documentary. The community Spock's anus is a documentary. So salute. Great to be on comment time. There you go. My son called. You all behave. We're flying without a paddle. No moderator, guys. Is that true? I'll believe you, Logic. I believe you because it confirms my bias. How's that for honesty? Oh God, that hurts my soul. I don't even want to read it. Correction, Liam was talking at you, not to you. Yeah, guy should be a politician. Star Trek is not science fiction. Would you be being in quantum? Yeah, wackadoo. Yeah, I agree. I've been watching a lot of videos about screenwriting where it is expressed many times the hero's journey, the character arch, things that make a character strive for things, even fall. Pathos. You got to have pathos. That's why this character that can beat your character, he's the most powerful. Oh, great. But where's his pathos? Which to me is why the Marvel characters are intrinsically better than the DC characters traditionally. Yeah, but 1984, that you guys know what I'm saying. We human beings speak in generalities. That's why they had to insert kryptonite to give Superman some measure of pathos. My biggest people say is when this character's righteous, no matter what they do, they could murder and it would be considered righteous. I agree to a certain extent. Captain Marvel should have killed Superman in Kingdom Come. Clark's version of magic should have made those thunderbolts lethal. I know this is a niggling continuity thing, but Superman isn't vulnerable to magic in the classic sense of like a human being. Superman's powers just don't defend him against magic. So Superman is like everybody else when it comes to magic. So like, you know what I mean? So it's not like his powers fail in the presence of magic. It's his powers don't do anything against magic. Magic bypasses his superpowers. So he's treated like everybody else when it comes to magic. It's not like, oh, he's got a magic wand and Superman is the weakest person in the room, but Batman's can defeat against magic. No, Batman's just as vulnerable as Superman. I know it's a niggling detail, but it needs to be addressed. I like it when opposing characters have different ability sets but are fairly even in power. Yeah. Resulting in the creative use. Yes, absolutely. You assume incorrectly. It's 1710 Zulu. I'm further. Oh, okay, there you go. Well, you are a Time Lord. The commercial success of sci-fi as a genre ruined sci-fi. Everything sci-fi started as being a set Earth current day with current day limitations. That's not. Yeah. I don't disagree. Yes, I love the Omega Man. I love the Omega Man. I bought it just because I love Teen Titans and it was connected to the Teen Titans, and it is better than it needed to be. Some comics surprised me rather, about how good they were, given it was sci-fi, but it was tied to superheroes. Omega Man was surprising. Like Micronauts is another one I put in that category. Now I'm reading Atari Force. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so much better than it had any right to be. ROM. They should age up Billy Batson, give him children who get their own powers. In today's world, see, poor Billy Batson, he doesn't fit in the DC world. The DC world, Superman should be the apex. And to have an equal of Superman diminishes. Captain Marvel needs to be the apex of his own world. Although people building a spaceship that blows up planets sounds sci-fi to me, well, it's not as sci-fi as you think. Just think about it. We build a space. Just think if okay, it's sci-fi. I stand corrected because I know logic is going to jump down my throat. But if we do develop the speed of light, then we could blow up planets, because anything traveling at the speed of light gets infinite mass. So we make a, which is why Star Trek falls apart. Star Wars falls apart because everybody has the power to destroy. Take an X-wing, go at the speed of light, crash into a planet, planet's destroyed. Now, the argument is when you go to speed of light in Star Trek, do you go into other dimensions and travel and pop out of our universe? Do you literally go faster than the speed of light? Same with Star Trek. These guys go faster than the speed of light. The universe warps around them. So can they blow up planets? That's what I'm talking about. Was a lot of the people use these terms and they don't quite understand what they're talking about, like Chris Claremont and Retcon. Sci-fi has never been a widespread interest in the masses. Hollywood's always looking for yes. Joey Lawrence used to be cool. No, but that would be awesome. That would be awesome. My secondary bookmark is it's got a dragon on it. It's got a dragon on it. I don't know where I got it. It just showed up. John Alex Kirby said that in his view. It said what? It's all about that he just used Star Trek to preach his messages. I believe you. I totally believe you. I totally believe you for a bunch of reasons. Number one, because it confirms my bias. Second, because it makes sense. The third, it's obvious. I totally believe you. I like pathos, not just as much as continuity or okay. I'll moderate the chat. My first action would be permanently ban everyone. There will be rabble rising if there are no. Yeah, it's a good way, right? That there will be no. That's in the Matrix. Should have just killed off humanity and used cows. What it considers sci-fi. Kurtzman wanted to use the platform to push the message. Kurtzman stole the tardigrade and made up his own. Yep, I agree. Yeah, Superman has no defense against magic. It's not that he's vulnerable to magic. It's just that he has no defense against magic. Just like we have no defense against magic. Magic's not my weakness. It's just magic. You know what I mean? I know it's a niggling deep point. Superman early on fought injustice like poverty, tenants' rights. Social. No, you're right. You're right. But that was populism. Nobody likes injustice. Nobody likes poverty. Nobody likes bad landlords. Nobody likes wife beaters. The difference, he didn't advocate for communism. You know what I mean? He's not socialist, man, because he beat up landlords that were taking advantage of people. It's just popular politics, populism. Populism is when we all agree Nazis are bad. You guys don't get to have a right. It's not your side to hate Nazis. Everybody hates Nazis. Actually, Kryptonite was created to give Bud Call a break. Yep. Yeah, I didn't know that. Marcus told me that. Actually, Superman stopped the war and saved Lois from being kidnapped. Traditional storytelling is about a character being powerful for the sake of being powerful. The greatest story is about those who have flawed, grow, overcome the odds despite being weaker. Okay, you know what? I'm going to keep going with the comment, and then sounds like we're going to have a great discussion. So let's go with the comment. So Colossus beats up Catman. We got Nightcrawler and Cyclops over here defeating Croaker, not Frogman as he was known in, and also that was a different person in the frog suit. He gets blasted over here by Birdman. The Birdman has him prisoner. Cyclops is lost unless I can return the favor. So Nightcrawler pounces on Birdman, and I do like that his arms are the wings. His arms are the wings rather than he has arms and wings, like a proper bird. You hurt Gert's friends. You hurt Gert. Gert will kill you. Gort. Heads up. That road company Hulk, and he looks like he's loaded for bear. I like this. I like checking out the names. We got Richard Helm, Stuart Bracken, Lieutenant Tom Riley, U.S. Air Force. For like non-essential characters in my comic books, I steal the names from letters pages. It's like a nice little comic book inside joke. Kung Fu Karate by instructor Toyotaro Mizuyaki. There you go. There's a name. I'm not stealing that name. I can't pronounce it. So I like this. So what does she do? She fries all his circuits in his suit, and then Wolverine and Nightcrawler. Wolverine puts away his claws and takes him out. Hear me, X-Men. My will is your will. You cannot resist my hypnotic powers. I must flee to warn Count Nefaria. Oh, her name is Dragonfly. In a moment, Dragonfly's spell is complete, and behind Cyclops' ruby quartz word, his eyes go blank and wide open. So his eyes open automatically, grazing the ruby, freezing his eyes. So they're saying that his eyes open because he's hypnotized, and because of that, it causes his eye beams to open and blast Dragonfly. So she got defeated by her own powers. Wait a minute. Where's Banshee and Thunderbird? So Banshee's knocked out, Thunderbird's knocked out, so we're just going to leave him. We got to turn off the bomb because there's a nuclear arsenal in NORAD, or he's going to fire nuclear missiles, and destroy the world because of plot. No, self-destruct engaged. So what are they doing? We might be getting too old for this. So I like that Nightcrawler, Banshee, and Thunderbird are the oldest. So they see Nefaria leaving in a jet. He's leaving on a jet plane. We don't know when he'll be back again. My self-destruct system will blow up the mountain and all to the deepest pits of hell. And I like the way this plane is drawn. And what does Thunderbird do? He leaps on it. Why? Because Banshee is too physically exhausted to use the powers that it's a big strain on him. I love that. It gives him some pathos. He can't just use his powers. He's got to build up for it. So he's just bashing and smashing. Now Banshee is summoning his powers. He needs to scream and build up vibrations before he could fly. Don't know why, but we're running out of time. What are you doing? It's totally out of commission. I've mentally scanned the system. How do you mentally scan the system? The system doesn't have a brain. Your battle with the Animan destroyed the commands, relays, and backups. But enough of that. So there you go. What a Deus Ex Machina. Your battle stopped the threat. You didn't know about it, and my mental powers scanned computers. This is just bad. So is Chris Claremont wrong? Chris Claremont is wrong, Logic's finest. He is saying that Charles Xavier has the ability to mentally scan computers now. What he should have said is, I've scanned Count Nefaria. He knows the jig is up. His threat is annihilated. He's acting like it's still going on, so this is a distraction so he can flee. I got that from Nefaria's mind. Chris Claremont is actively wrong right here. Okay? Thunderbird is beating the crap out of the ship. Get off that ship before it's too late. I'm butt out, Baldy. I'm through taking orders. I've been a loner all my life, an outcast, dumped on by everybody, but I'm a man, Xavier, a warrior of the Apache, and I'm going to prove it. Get off the plane. Get off the plane. Storm's flying out. There they are. Go get him. The plane blows up. Thunderbird, get out. It's like, I could see Peter. You, Cyclops, and one other. So, boom. Thunderbird dies. I begged him. I pleaded with him, but he wouldn't get off the plane. He wouldn't get off. I know, Banshee. It wasn't your fault. I suppose it had to happen sometime or later. Sooner it comes with the uniform. So there you go. Thunderbird dies through basically his own arrogance. So now that I finished, I got all the time in the world. I got nothing else planned. So let's continue with the chat. Let's continue with the chat. I'll remove that. There we go. Oh, I don't want that big. What am I doing? What am I doing? There we go. We'll do that. That's fine. I don't like looking at my face that big. It disturbs me. It's churlish. All right. Traditional storytelling is about character being powerful for the sake of being powerful. The great stories about those flawed and grow up to overcome. Absolutely, I agree. I'm also a sci-fi nerd. I read novels and have huge catalogs of films too. Intricate sci-fi appeals to me the most. Yes, I agree. I'm with you on that one. I don't think I need to explain. I love all the little nerdy details. Absolutely. Superman has always been the champion of the weak and the oppressed. Yes, he doesn't like things that are wrong. Nobody likes bad landlords. Just my opinion. Characters do evolve over the decades. Originally, Superman couldn't fly. Absolutely, I agree. Let's try this out. Oh, that's not working. Okay, let's just play with buttons. How do you go to the speed of light, not accidentally crash into a planet, killing everyone on the? Yeah, that's just it. Well, space is space, and that's why you have computers that plot everything and plot your course. That's why space travel is incredibly dangerous. It also depends on the mode of travel. Do you use hyperspace where you bypass normal space? Do you literally go faster than the speed of light? things. Do you just teleport? That's what you need to know, and that's what you need to do in your stories. And that's why a lot of the Star Trek writers didn't understand how their actual spaceships worked, which is fine. Only nerds like me care about stuff like that. So I've had pathos uh, early, but not physical weakness. A moral code that connected with, but he was invincible. Any chance of a review of Lobo's first appearance? There's always a chance. Request it in the comments. I was going to default to X-Men for a while, but I'll do other stuff. It's not like I have a hard set path. Superman flying is a retcon. It's not a retcon. It, but we're not to mention it's not a. He developed the power to fly. Is the Invisible Woman developing force fields a retcon? Did they actively say that she can't have force field powers? No, she developed force field powers. Superman developed the power to fly. If we're using physics, a one-seat fighter at light speed won't blow up a planet, but then it has infinite mass. Traveling at yes, it is speculation. I agree. I'll agree with you at that. But the closer you get to the speed of light, the more your mass increases. So if you get to the speed of light, you have infinite mass. Infinite mass will blow up anything. Which is why you can't sci-fi unless I'm misunderstanding physics. Sci-fi has to be fiction within science, has to dive into science. Yeah, the three body problems. Yeah, I didn't see I heard it was really good. I got to check it out. At the age of 18, Billy says Shazam, but the power never leaves. How's that? Yeah, once he becomes, that's kind of what Kingdom Come said, that he just ended up staying Captain Marvel forever. I thought Trump was a populist until Musk. I'll say this, not to get political, but I guess I'm getting political. I think Trump is a realist, and I think Musk is an idealist. I think Musk is an idealistic man-child Asperger's kid. I like Musk. So I think that Trump disappointed him, and that Trump was just like, this is what we got to do to get this stuff passed. And Musk was like, no, we got to do it all. And I think that was, and I based that on nothing other than only what I know, my limited experience. That's what I think was the beginning of their rift. And I think Musk now is starting to realize this is the best chance. So, and I do agree that political change needs to be slow, otherwise it doesn't last. Changes that are immediate and abrupt are for the most part, not permanent. Pretty much JP, his powers weaknesses were not trying to, but kryptonite came in much later. Relativity speed of light gives me a headache. Yeah, me too. That's why I like to use electric universe theory as the basis. Oh, I don't know that. What is electric universe theory? I got to check that out. Ludiverse, it depends on what type site. The Expanse is brilliant. Yeah, but then again, yeah, I heard that The Expanse is really good, like hard science fiction. I don't know. I haven't read it. But Captain America's weakness is normal weapons. Captain America's gun. I think. How'd you know? One Punch Man is a great character who's ridiculous. Yes, I got to check it out. Everybody tells me I'd like One Punch Man. I could suspend my disbelief of Fast and Light. Otherwise, I can't enjoy. Yeah. You're right. Absolutely. You have to suspend disbelief. People can't fly. People don't have superpowers. Here we are. Just keep your made-up rules internally constant. Yes. Cyclops blasted a woman. How dare she? How do you know she's a woman? How do you know she's a woman? Are you saying that observable details make you what you are? Fascist. Universe for the X-Files is sci-fi that also melds with. Yes. Space Above and Beyond. I gotta watch that show. That was supposed to be really good. Do mental powers allow you? Does the power of telepathy allow you to scan computers? And does Xavier do it again? Does Xavier scan computers? That's a different power. Telepathy is the ability to read minds. The ability to scan computers is a different power. Does Xavier have another power besides telepathy? Does Xavier do it again? How often does Xavier use his mind to interface with computers? I'm telling you, Thunderbird's got some Pilgrim. Yeah, he does. He changed the character. Yeah, he changed Xavier and then changed him back at the end of the story. Not all changes the same logic. Adding a backstory is different than changing his backstory. Yep. Am I up to? Oh, I thought I was down. I guess Blue Marvel would just sit by while family's rent was unjustly increased until they were evicted. But yeah, because he's not a hero. Because he's a lousy hero. Because he only acts when he decides, I feel like acting today. Now, if they said that he had some sort of like bipolar disorder, super depression where he couldn't act, that's a different story. That gives him some pathos. The people that make videos why Capital Believes don't know. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Claremont said he changed everything. The name Magneto. It just seems to me subjective as to what the fan likes. Except, yeah, okay, I'll buy that for $1. I don't claim to be a huge Superman expert. It's great. Sometimes say I'm clueless on this one. Yeah, yeah. Like, what were they talking about Clobby? I don't know what that is. I think Grant Morrison improved on Reed Richards' power by having increased the elasticity of the neurons in his mind. Did did did, did Grant Morrison write the Fantastic Four? It must have been after my time. I, I don't recall Grant Morrison writing the Fantastic Four. That would be interesting. But I would say that he needs to have a strong editor worker with him. And the problem with Grant Morrison is he's more popular than any editor that he's going to work with. That's a theory about infinite math. The closer you get, the math makes sense. But yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And Kingdom Come, Billy, but that's the kind of thing you need to address if you're going to use that kind of stuff, though. In Kingdom Come, Billy Batson's an adult, so is the powered form, and powered form looks, yeah, that's the thing. That's exactly it. And that's why that's why Batman was able to suss out that he was Billy Batson. I love comics that don't talk about the Ripper first. Keep it up. Oh, geez, I'm looking at your avatar, and I thought it was a stormtrooper drinking a Coke. I was like, hey, stormtroopers like soda. I withdraw my Superman stricken. Stricken. The math made sense that we can't fly until the Wright brothers proved them wrong. Good point. With more math, yes, yeah, we're flawed humans, and we describe the universe through our flawed five senses. I agree. I agree. Like dinosaurs now. You know, geez, everything about dinosaurs has changed in my lifetime. Everything about dinosaurs. You know, does the Brontosaurus exist again? I heard that the Brontosaurus exists again. You know, yeah. I feel like a retcon is well enough to find Claremont to fundamentally change the character. He added it back. That's I agree with Eric Guapo. And he's so handsome. How can you disagree? Assuming maybe Charles used Cerebro. Okay, that I'll buy. That I'll buy. That's a good point. Did he use Cerebro and Cerebro scan the computer? Then you got to say it. Then you got to say it. But yes, that's a good. See, now you would earn a no prize if you wrote that and sent it to Marvel. Stan Lee would give you a no prize, and that's what made it fun. That's what made it fun, and that the whole point that no prizes even existed shows you that continuity is fun. Good point there, JP Fawn. I'll buy that for $1. To be honest, nowadays it's kind of hard to tell who's a woman. I'll buy that for $1. Does Superman have a weakness to magical powers? Or we just yes, we are splitting hairs. We absolutely are splitting hairs. Are we? Yes, Black Adam can hurt Superman. I'm not a DC. Yes. The answer to your question is Superman has no weakness. He it's not that he has a weakness to match. A weakness means that it's like a special, like it could get to him easier. He's vulnerable to it. It's just that Superman's powers don't work against magic. Just like Superman is as vulnerable or invulnerable to magic as I am, because I'm a normal person with no defenses to magic. So Superman, for all of his powers and everything like that, he's just treated like one of us when it comes to magic. And yes, we are splitting hairs. So Black Adam can hurt Superman, yes, because Black Adam is magically strong, but his punches aren't magical. Captain Marvel's magically strong, but his punches aren't magical. Now, whether or not Thor's hammer is magical is up for debate. I don't know the answer to that. But Black Adam's Black Adam's lightning is magical. So when Superman gets hit by, I I I would think it's like a regular person getting hit by a lightning bolt. So yes, we're splitting hairs. Yes, but that's what we do. That's what being a comic book fan is. I'll only refer to the grand paradox of the future, the only thing that writer could afford to ignore. Okay, my favorite dinosaur is dragons. Excuse me. And DC Miller is doing a bang up job on the Bikini Girl story. I'm so excited whenever he sends me anything. I still don't think that dinosaurs turned into birds. Regardless, I think dinos shaped chicken nuggets was hilarious. I'd always wondered me what's with Superman can be hurt by magic thing. As a DC fan, it's just that Superman is invulnerable, but Superman's invulnerability doesn't work against magic. It's not that he's vulnerable to magic. It's just that, but he is vulnerable to magic. But just like you're vulnerable to magic. So are human beings' weaknesses magic? You know what I mean? Are human beings' weaknesses get shot in the face? You know what I mean? Like a weakness to me implies that there's something special. Like Green Lantern, weakness is to yellow. Normal people aren't weak to yellow, but a Green Lantern is weak to yellow. I know it's absolutely splitting hairs. John Byrne explained it like this: Superman was trapped in a prison. So I think it was the demon used a spell, and Superman got trapped in a cage made out of stone. So the stone itself was shaped, and Superman was trapped. While the spell was manipulating, Superman couldn't break the stone. He was like, "Oh, it's magic," and then the spell was over. Superman just broke out because it wasn't magic anymore. So he's saying it's not that he's vulnerable to magic. It's just that his powers don't work. He's like a regular person when it comes to magic. I'd like to know when John's Longbox is going to release his time travel story. It's scheduled to be in Heroic Tales #4. I'm working on Heroic Tales #2, which Renzo is done with the art. I'd like to say that I'm shipping it in 2 months, give or take. That's what I'd like to say. Whether it happens is another story. But by the end of the summer, to hedge my bets, then I'm working on Patriarch. Then I'm working on Heroic Tales #3. Then I'm working on Patriarch #2. Then I'm working on Heroic Tales #4. So a year, 2 years. That I think that's a fair time frame. Superman could still be turned into a frog by magic. Yep. John, can you tell us what the acronym Shazam stands for? Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, Mercury. I'm not sure if I did it in the right order. Well, there is only, so the two A's can be backwards, but that's what it stands for. He has the wisdom of Solomon, which should be a weakness because Solomon was a dummy. Biblical Solomon was a dummy. That's actually a topic I want to talk about in a future episode of I Talk Bible with Cooper. Hercules is strong. Atlas, he gets the stamina of Atlas. The power of Zeus. What is the power of Zeus? Power of Zeus is a lot of things. Zeus is lightning. Zeus is the sky. Zeus is a shape changer, and Zeus also has authority. You know, I love Captain Marvel. There's so much you could do with this character. And Achilles. Achilles to me never. Solomon doesn't fit and Achilles doesn't fit, but it's too late to change him. So he has the courage of Achilles. Well, the courage of Achilles shouldn't be anything because it's easy to be brave when you're invulnerable. And the speed of Mercury, that's pretty self-explanatory. But Mercury is my favorite of the Greek gods, and I have a lot to say about Mercury. Well, Mercury is a Roman god, Hermes. But so Mercury is my favorite of the Roman gods. That's what it stands for. Magic does not do what kryptonite does to him. Magic just hurts him, so he has no. Yeah. Magic bypasses the rules of physics and logic and science. That's the purpose of magic. So therefore, it bypasses Superman. So Isn't that what his weakness is then? It sounds like this non-DC fan. Yeah, I am splitting hairs. I absolutely admit. John Byrne was splitting hairs, but we're not. It is confusing. It's totally confusing. But the thing is, everybody's weakness is magic. Everybody's weakness, unless you are Dr. Fate, everybody's weakness is magic. To say that Superman's weakness is magic is like saying Superman's weakness is death. Everybody's weakness is death. You know what I mean? It's like saying Wolverine's weakness is not breathing. Well, so's Cyclops. So's Jean Grey. So's Charles Xavier. So's Reed Richards. Everybody's weakness is magic. So if that's a weakness, then everybody. To me, to say your weakness is this implies that it's special to you. Not everybody's weakness is yellow. Not everybody's weakness is. Geez, what are some other DC weaknesses? I'm trying to think of DC weaknesses that are silly. You know, but you know what I mean. Everybody's weakness is magic. I guess that magic technically falls under. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, Batman's weakness is magic too. Aquaman's weakness is magic. It's certainly not a strength. It's something hurts you, you have a weakness to. Okay, yeah, I agree. John Jones's weakness is magic. Angleman's weakness is magic. Signalman's weakness is magic. So we just add N magic as their weakness to every DC character except Dr. Fate. Plastic Man's weakness is magic. John, there's also different types of magic, like alchemy. Would Superman be immune for? I don't know. I don't know. That I would gut say that yeah, if it's magic, it works against it. That's what I would say. But I would say yes. Yes. September 25. You all heard him. If someone casts a spell on Superman for everything to be 3 times heavier than him, the spell would work just as yeah. But Superman would be strong enough. Yes, 3 times. Yeah. You don't get it? Okay. I thought oh man, I thought I was so clever with that explanation. Wonderful. Whatever John just said, issue 4. Oh, okay, okay. October 20th featuring time. Oh, okay, yeah, there you go. There you go. I should plead the Liam defense. I never gave the time date, so therefore I could never be late. Hercules is not a strong Superman. You know, it's funny that you said that. In my head canon, God, I can't believe I said head canon again. In my way of thinking, Hercules is not as strong as Superman. Yeah, in my way of thinking, to me, Atlas is the strongest of the Greek myths, and Hercules is the strongest mortal. And Superman clearly is not mortal. He's but yeah, yeah. Superman is like, I mean, Hercules is like the strongest guy in your neighborhood. That you know that guy that wins every bar fight. That's Hercules to me, and that's to me. I'm a you know biblical Superman was Superman. Biblical Solomon was very wise and had very yeah, but he caused the destruction of Israel. And, and Solomon's weakness was women, right? To me, Solomon was a lousy king who caused the destruction of Israel that lasted till this day. Like 10 tribes were lost under Solomon. Doesn't sound very wise. He did a few things that were smart. To me, it's the arcane occult stuff of Solomon that like Solomon had the ring that could summon genies. He trapped demons in bottles. He had mines elsewhere in the world, like mining. That to me, that's the wisdom of Solomon. So to me, that implies that Captain Marvel is a wizard. Shazam is a wizard. Nobody argued the wizard Shazam. That is the occult knowledge, the ability to trap demons, the ability to defend the world against magic. So to me, in a world of Superman, who's vulnerable to magic, you got Captain Marvel, who's not vulnerable to magic because he's got the wisdom of Solomon. He's got this rock of eternity that's outside of time and space. He has the histogram where he could monitor all the events in the multiverse, and he has that brazier that could summon spirits to give him information. This guy is a full-on wizard, And that's what makes him super interesting. He has access to the occult world, the secret knowledge world. And that's why he's always running from women, because Solomon's weakness was women. So Captain Marvel, Shazam, stays away from women, and he's a wizard with the strength of Hercules, the power of Zeus. That is the Captain Marvel I want to write. Oh my God. Shazam should have the magic of Magus. Is did you spell something wrong, or is that a character that I don't know? Oh, I'm being held. That would be a great climbing time. Mercury, the Roman god versus Flash. Venom is weak to supersonic waves and magic. And magic. So he's saying Superman has a weakness to magic. His powers are useless against magic, which by definition is a weakness. Okay. Everybody is useless to magic, unless you say Tana, Captain Marvel, or Dr. Fate. If it's everybody's, so is Superman also allergic, weakness to death? You know what I mean? If it's everybody's weakness, it's not your weakness. It's just a state of being what you are. Your weakness has to be something specific to you. You know what I mean? Comic book weakness is something that counteracts your power. So is Spider-Man's weakness Colossus? Because Colossus' strength can overpower Spider-Man's strength. So is it rational to go around saying that Spider-Man is weakness to people that are stronger than him? You know what I mean? Saying like a weakness has to be something specific to you. If it's specific to everybody, it's not your weakness. I wonder why it's called my weakness is malleable timetables. In my canon, magic is based more on will and maybe imagination. Creative spark may ignite the magic. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I get, yeah. Nobody wants to use the word Superman as a weakness. I say Superman is vulnerable to magic, but to say Superman has a weakness to magic implies that Batman doesn't have a weakness to magic. It's semantics and it's splitting hair, but there is a difference. You know what I mean? Saying Superman has a weakness to magic means that magic affects him more than it affects everybody else. It affects everybody the same. So Batman has a weakness to magic. The Flash has a weakness to magic. Does Wonder Woman? I don't know if Wonder Woman does. That's something that's interesting. That made me think. No logic is her powers are not used. Superman still has a strength. Yeah, if I was to cast a spell to summon a hammer and hit Superman with it, it wouldn't affect him because the magic was summoning the hammer. If I made a spell to summon Excalibur, Excalibur would cut Superman because the sword is magic. You know what I mean? If I was to summon Bigfoot, bing, and then Bigfoot magical? Well, that's a bad example because some people can argue Bigfoot's magical. But so Superman summons the Hulk. Superman summons Jesus. Magic Boy summons the Hulk. Bing. Does the Hulk now have carte blanche to beat the crap out of Superman because it was magic? This, you know what I mean? And these are the fine details that I love. Like Captain America's shield. Is it just super strong against everything? Or does it do something else? It does something else. Captain America puts up his shield. The Hulk punched it, which happened. Now the shield doesn't get destroyed, but Captain America's fist should go into his face. The impact should smash him against the wall, and he splattered against the brick wall because the Hulk is that strong. But that doesn't happen. So therefore, the shield disperses kinetic energy. It's not that the shield is super strong. It may be super strong, but it mostly disperses energy. That's splitting hairs, but it's the details that make the story fun. Headcanon, spit take. Doctor Strange before he was nerfed was absolutely, and that's the whole reason that of the Defenders is they wanted to take the most powerful heroes and put them on a team. So they had the Silver Surfer, Namor, the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and the whole premise was these guys kick ass. You know, the Defenders were the ass kickers, and I agree. Doctor Strange, by default, breaks the rules of all logic and reason because that's what magic is. Magic is the cheat codes of reality. Magic Blast can hurt Superman, but Kryptonite nullifies Superman and makes him weaker than. Yes, yes. Solomon's later actions did not get the wisdom and the knowledge that he had. That's like saying he was smart until he wasn't smart, you know. And yet, he did like the fortify against Egypt. He did things, but in the end, he was the king when Israel was destroyed. You know, and that's what the whole cut the baby in half means. If you were willing to divide Israel to save yourself, then you're not the rightful Israelites. That was a justification for the ones that survived to say we are the true Israelites, we are the true Hebrews. It's a metaphor. There was no real baby. Doctor Strange was done dirty in the MCU. Absolutely, yeah. He's a goofball. He's a goofball in the movie. Perfect casting wasted. No, Magus or Magus was a. Oh, okay. Oh, Magic. Okay, you just spelled it different than I was used. I thought it was a character that I didn't know. Darkseid's Omega beams. Yes, yeah. That Darkseid's Omega beams illustrates perfectly an example of like a declaration. These Omega beams annihilate anybody if they hit, and then they have to retcon it. That is a retcon. Because originally it was if you get hit by Doctor Strange, if you get hit by Darkseid's Omega beams, you're annihilated. You are destroyed. You're gone. You're defeated. You're whatever, vanquished. And then they had to come up with excuses why they didn't hit. The most brilliant one being Superman flying around and then grab Darkseid and put him in front. That was cool. And then Darkseid was defeated. That was cool. But now they erase you from time. They do this. They had to pull it back because they realized it was overpowered. So that's why you got to think about characters. You got to think about their powers. You know, if you make up the most powerful superhero who could beat anybody, my character, your character, Superman, you got to think about that. You got to think about the consequences of that character. This is the kind of quality. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Tommy Wimey. Okay, so Superman has the same weakness that every human. That's a weakness. Yes. Yes. So when I write a comic book about Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., who has a weakness to magic, Nightcrawler has a weakness to magic. You know, it's if everybody, like to quote Syndrome, if everybody's a weakness to magic, then nobody has a weakness to magic. It's just that's what magic is. Do human beings have a weakness to electricity? We all, you know what I mean? So when we write a story about a human, do we have to reference that he's a weakness to electricity? Gotta go. Have a good one. Thank you. I know this is a long one. Got me for 4 hours last night. We're up to 3 hours now. But this is fun. As long as the comments go, I'll keep going. I like that Captain Marvel's weakness is women, which could make for a great Thor crossover with Captain Marvel. I always thought that if Marvel, this would be a good clobbering time. Oh wow, thank you for this thought, JP. If we could swap one Marvel character for a DC character, I would love to see Captain Marvel, Shazam. From now on, rule, declaration, mandate, hereby on John's Long Box, whenever I say Captain Marvel, we are talking about Billy Batson, unless I make myself clear. Okay. End of declaration. Signed and noted. Anybody? Signed and noted. Seconded. If I'm talking about Captain Marvel, it's that one. So, couldn't you? I would love to see Captain Marvel on the Defenders. You got Silver Surfer, Namor, the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Captain Marvel. I not on the Avengers, but for some reason he fits on the Defenders. That would be awesome. So that we'll talk about that. Which. So you already know that I would like to have Captain Marvel brought over to Marvel. Which Marvel character would you like to be brought to DC? I remember reading, the Punisher. The Punisher goes over to DC and starts killing everybody. Oh my God, that would wreak havoc. Just killing Joker. Oh my God. I remember reading this comic where Spider-Man punched Thor in the joint and said that it felt like punching solid rock. Yeah, yeah. It's semantics. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. H3 doesn't have unique superhero weakness. Who is H3? H Horse H Hoover. He has the same weakness to magic that every 6-1. Right. So whenever you write a superhero now and list their weaknesses, you got to list all their weaknesses. Captain America's weaknesses: electricity, poison, suffocation, strangulation, getting his femoral artery sliced, knives, bullets, falling off a cliff. These are all his weaknesses. Got to list them all because those are his weaknesses. These magic conversation reminds me of old nerd art I used to have. Yeah, it's fun. I hope, Logic, that you're not getting upset. That's not the intent of this. This is all nerd fun. I hope nobody's getting upset. If you're getting upset about this, I apologize. That's not the point. I just like these little nerd, and that's what makes you a fan, is arguing about these nerdy little details. It's when you get all mad and want to fist fight about it that it comes, like D&D. It almost came to blows, me and my friends back in college, about who had a +2 sword. I realized it was a problem. I was like, guys, we got to stop playing for a while. This is getting crazy. Well, what John doesn't know is I'm too writing time travel story. Maybe you already wrote it, and the details make the story. Yeah, you already wrote it at some point in the time stream. Semantics matter. Kryptonite is weakness. It nullifies Superman. Magic is, yeah. I'm on the Eric the Guapo team. Semantics matter, and it's the little details that make a good character great, or a great, it's the devil's in the details, or God is in the details, depending upon your orientation. Captain Planet weakness is pollution and being Hitler's presence. Really? Standing before Hitler makes him weak? Hey, Matt, how you doing? How you doing, Matt? Just talking about you with Liam last night. If you want to watch a 4-hour stream of two maniacs. If we follow Logic's definition, we'll have to say eating pizza every day for 40 years is Batman's weakness. Yep, mine too. Mine too. My weakness is also taxes. The adamantium vibranium mix. Yes, it's a unique, unreplicable, wonderful accident. Sydney Sweeney is everybody's weakness. So now, Logic's finest, you have to write that. Your weakness is Sydney Sweeney, you know, but it's also everybody's weakness, so you don't have to write it. Magic is the cheat code of reality. Wow, I'm stealing that from my book. Not even joking. Consider yourself plagiarized. I'm sure I heard that someplace else. So be careful and feel free to take it. It's so good. I'm pretty sure that I didn't come up with it, but my faulty memory. I'm doing the Stan Lee thing. Maybe I heard it. Maybe I invented it. I don't remember. It just came to me. The electricians of reality with all the timeline pipes is a great idea, John. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what Matt is talking about, Matt had a stream yesterday on his channel, and I I was working in a hospital yesterday, an active hospital. It was an emergency ward. I was on the 5th floor of a children's hospital in New York, and they need stuff done, and they do it on Saturday, because they, for the most part, they schedule surgeries. All right, they schedule Thursday at 9, Tuesday at 8. Saturdays they don't schedule any surgeries, but there's doctors there in case of emergencies. So that's whenever they do stuff on Saturdays, because they know there's nothing scheduled. So it could be swamped, in which case we get paid to do nothing, or it could be empty. So this was pretty empty. We had a clearance. We go to work, but we had to wait for the clearance. So I'm in there with this suit on, and I turn on my phone. I see Matt streaming, and I joined the stream because I thought it would be fun. And I was showing him where I was working. We had all the pipes. So if you go to Matt in the chat, if you're not a mod. If you could put the name of the stream, it's at the beginning. You could see me dressed like Breaking Bad talking. And Matt and I, every time I talk to Matt, we come up with great ideas. We came up with that show me your collection. If ever you're hiring people for comics, me and Matt came up with it's clobbering time. Finally, YouTube actually knows what they're talking. Me, I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, happy Father's Day to you too, Matt. I know you got a swarm of youngins. I don't have kids, but people all the time say happy Father's Day to me, and I take it with the respect that it was offered. So thank you. I'm not a dad, but thank you. It's a nice thing to say. You know, just consider the spirit that it was offered. Yeah, Sydney Sweeney is selling her used bathwater on Doctor. Yeah, more power to her, right? More power to her, more or less. Are they? Are they magic related? You know, I as far as I know, Doctor Strange confirmed in Avengers Annual number 4 that he's a full-on human with no magic. It's just a bizarre mutation. But I do think in the dark recesses of my mind that they changed that later on. So I'm not going to argue one way or another. I'm just going with my faulty memory. Classic line from Syndrome: when everybody's super, no one is. Red Finger number 1. Hail nerds. Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel is different in how you pronounce it. Yes, that I made my proclamation. But whenever I talk about Marvel, I do say Marvel. But Carol Danvers and everything else. Those ones I'll specifically say the Carol Danvers. But yeah, saying that sounds good. But in the height of subjective reality, if everyone has something, nobody has it. Everybody's weakness is starving to death. Which Marvel goes to DC? Good one. The chat's so far behind. Which is fun. It's keeping this going. Wasn't Juggernaut's power originally the magic crystal in his helmet? And then I remember one of the shows they recommended to a crystal is awakened, his dormant. Yeah, he Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, in their infinite genius, realized that the whole mutant thing will get tired real quick. You know what I mean? Like, so they made a lot of non-mutants in the X-Men, and one of them being the Juggernaut. He was powered by the Crimson Gem of Satarak, which became a Doctor Strange thing, or maybe it was Doctor Strange things first. I forget which. And it was Charles Xavier's half brother, and he stole the gem or grabbed the gem or whatever with the gem, and it gave him the powers of Satarak. So he's not a mutant. And now, of course, everybody's a mutant. So they got to retcon it. And is that what they did? If something activates your powers, you're not a mutant. Is Spider-Man now a mutant? Did the spider bite activate his mutant powers? Did the cosmic rays activate Reed Richards' Sue Storm's mutant powers? That, you know what I mean? Which would make a great story if everybody has latent mutant powers. And that's kind of what the Kree, that's kind of like in Marvel continuity. That's why the Kree are interested in humanity, because we do have the potential for mutant abilities in our DNA code, and they unlock it. That's what the Inhumans are, an early experimentation in the fact that all humans have potential for mutation. So, saying that the gem unlocked Juggernaut's mutant powers is now saying, and if that makes him a mutant, then Spider-Man's a mutant. Then the Fantastic Four are mutants. Which means, why are they mutant persecution? You know what I mean? The Marvel editors really need to keep track of this kind of crap. John, have you covered the book when Reed weakened the field around the Earth so Surfer could escape? Well, that happened a few times, but the Silver Surfer finally escaped because he went through without his surfboard. So, like, he took a spaceship or rode a rocket or something like that through the barrier, and then later on the surfboard came with him. So as long as both parts weren't there, it didn't activate the field. The question I always wanted to know is, if the Silver Surfer stayed like 18 feet away from the barrier, is the barrier there? Does it only affect the Silver Surfer, or does it physically pop up when the Silver Surfer gets near it? So, like, meaning, could the Silver Surfer wait till the Fantastic Four is flying, and then, as a joke, stick his hand across the barrier, activate the barrier, and then the Fantastic Four would crash into it? I don't know. That would be funny though. That would be a really dick move. Juggernaut is magic based. Yes, absolutely. X-Men animated series. That's an odd retcon. Yeah, it's the first I'm hearing about it. This stuff is absolutely fun. Popcorn plus 2. I don't want popcorn. Juggernaut gets it. I just got to get another soda. I've been talking so much. I'm right here, though. I'm not going too far. In my nerd lair, I hate the term man cave, and my wife always says it because what if your husband can't bug your wife and your wife can't bug your husband, are you really married? So every day she's like, go down to your man cave, and every day, ah, you know, my niece called it my underground lair. I like that. I like my lair. I say basement, but man cave is just, it's so gay. It's gayer than Comics Gate. Uh, Juggernaut gets his power from the gods. Yes, Satorak, however you spell it. Yeah, some crazy name. John, this is a great conversation. Thumbs up. I get nervous talking logic. You're so good that nobody wants to be caught in the logic trap. But I appreciate it. You keep me on my toes. Thank you. You're the sandpaper to my brain. My weakness is fear of Alzheimer's disease. So, and they say you got to keep your brain active. So you're helping me defeat my weakness. I've been generally confused about Superman having a weakness to magic. He does have a weakness to magic, the same weakness as everybody else. Yes, and yes, it's semantics, and yes, it's splitting hairs. But those tiny details are what are they matter. They matter. They matter to nerds like us, and they can be used for excellent story points at some point by a clever writer. The tiny little details are what make a good writer, a bad writer, a good writer, or a good, you know what I mean? They level up a writer. Yeah, in the episode where the Planeteers go back in time, Captain Planet faints when Hitler glares at him. He says, bigotry and hate are just as bad as any pollution. There you go. There you go. Batman, he's kind of on the spectrum. I agree. Ah, lubricate the throat. That'll be cut and clipped and used. Batman is, yeah, I agree. Batman has to be on the spectrum. I'm going to use the electrician idea and turn the pipes into gutters of cosmic panels. The two guys talk, show the pipes, and they become the story. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad that I helped you come up with an idea. That's fun. And if you need assistance, I would be honored to help. That is a great idea. Uh, yeah. Your face lit up when you talked about it. It was cool to watch. I'm your daddy. I'm Paul's daddy, everybody. It's Father's Day. Where's my gift? You, I'm not a dad, but I played the role. Bathwater. Anybody want to buy my toenail clippings? There you go. Matt Barr's toenail clippings for sale. Nightcrawler is a half demon and half mutant. When he teleports to hell. Yeah, but that's just it. One of my favorite comics of all time, X-Men Annual Number 4, where the X-Men go to hell. Doctor Strange uses the Eye of Agamotto, which tells the truth and says that he is a human. He's not a demon. And then that is a retcon if they change that. I say Marvel because it's fun. So, John, if Marvel, as you said, changed Nightcrawler's powers, that's a retcon. Yes, it is. Absolutely, it is. Just jokes. That's a retcon because it was established in Avengers Annual Number 4 that he was a fully human, just some sort of quirk in genetic modifier turn. So that proves that either A, the writer and more importantly the editor didn't read that comic, or they don't care. Which I could forgive them if they didn't read it. I cannot forgive them if they don't care. Captain Planet created Timeline B. What's going to be yeah? Well, that's your job to rectify the timeline. The MCU is missing out on not using the Serpent Crown of Set. Yeah, that was a big deal in the 70s. That was a big deal. John, the Celestials put the mutant gene. Okay, it. So the Celestials put the mutant gene into me. Okay, that's fine. What I said was the Kree were interested in humanity. I didn't say if I said that the Kree created it, then I spoke wrong. But the Kree are interested in the mutability of the human race, and they were. I love that stuff, and I also love, and I don't know if they changed this, that the Kree can't change. There's something intrinsically flawed about the Kree that they're stagnant. I find, so they're looking outward, like this war drained their resources, or whatever, maybe radiation from the sun, or whatever. I just think I really do love that stuff. It's grist for the mill, grist for the mill, and that's what the little niggling details do, is they give a good writer uh, ideas for stories. I had dinner with Ted Turner's grandson at Ted Turner Steakhouse on Ted Turner Avenue, singing Captain Planet theme song. He was one of the sponsors for the UN comic I did. You commie, you dirty commie, Matt. Juggernaut is fueled by hate? Really? I believe the gem allowed Marco to tap into the powers which possessed him and turned him into. I, is it hate? That's the first time I'm hearing it. Well, first, Logic's finest as the key question. What did he ask? Was that a change or a retcon? Neither. It was filling in a blank. If it didn't exist and now it existed, it's it's not a range change or a retcon. It's just the way it is. You know. Okay, let's look at it this way. Does anybody know what Aunt May's mother's name is? So if I write a story and I say that Aunt May's mother's name was Gloria, is that a retcon? Is that a change? Or is that just filling in backstory? It's the same thing. If nobody's, so I don't think, and I may be wrong, that saying that the Celestials put the mutant gene, well, they did put the mutant gene in humanity. That's what the whole Eternals was. They made the deviants, they made the control group, the pure humans, and they made the Eternals. There you go. So I don't think it's a retcon. Juggernaut's fueled by hate. Okay, key question. Why don't we know which it is? I just answered. I think like and share and subscribe. Super chat. Buy my comic. Heroic Tales #2. This is a deal breaker for what is. What is? I know that I'm way behind on the chat, but clarify that statement, please. Finally, someone else that does like man cave. Yeah, it's so gay. It's gayer than saying hail. Oh my God, did I get my hail? So gay, so gay. Split the hairs. Changes are fine. Retcons are not canon. Yeah, I agree. Suggestions for clobbering time. Please check. Good, good. Yeah, that is good. Yes, yes. Please. I'm always accepting suggestions for its clobbering time. A vulnerability is not a weakness. Yes, absolutely. We are all vulnerable to the ravages of time. We are all vulnerable to disease. We are all vulnerable to starvation. That doesn't, if technically, yes, we have weaknesses for all these things, but it's the natural state of things. The natural state of things is not a weakness. And if everybody, so now when DC Who's Who comes out, and what are Batman's weaknesses? Well, Batman's weaknesses are getting shot, old age, starvation, suffocation, magic, lightning blasts to the face, Sydney Sweeney. We got to list all of these as Batman's weaknesses, or we just assume their weaknesses. You know what I mean? Because that's what being a human is. Some person showed up. So I always feel bad when I say something. I feel like it's insulting. Hey, some person just showed up. I think most vigilantes with no past seems like their powers lasting that long and beat it. Yeah, the suspension of disbelief, like John Wick. John Wick's a superhero. John Wick does superhuman stuff. So which is it's the only way to explain John Wick is he does superhuman stuff. You know what I mean? He survives. He heals faster. He's he's a superhuman. So in the world of John Wick, there are superhumans in my way of thinking. So when the ballerina who's 4'3" is fighting everybody, she's a superhuman. You know what I mean? It's if they made John Wick super realistic, that movie would be 20 minutes long. But we want him to be superhuman. We like him being superhuman, and we would be disappointed if he's not superhuman. He only gets wounded every once in a while to increase the drama, but we know he's going to survive. You know, so that's why people getting upset that the ballerina was a girl boss. It's a ridiculous, over the top superhero movie. You know, my problem with it was we made racial groups, and then we have this woman who's a ethnic black woman who, with a black name, with a black accent from Africa. She's a boss in an ethnic mafia. That doesn't make sense. And it started me on my path to darkness. It's all Zach's fault. It'll be our idea. You got it. You got it, buddy. Batman's. Oh, and I just wrote a scene in Patriarch #1 where he uses one of those water towers on top of a building. And I thought of you. I thought of you. He's using one of those as like a secret stash. Batman's mother may have been insane and may have spent time in Arkham. Yeah. Is that a retcon? Because in Detective Comics 27, they didn't say it. But somebody else came and added it in later. It's not a retcon, unless they specifically said it. But then again, DC's crazy. So it's, there's different versions and everything like that. But I hope I made my point clear. Do Will-O-the-Wisp assault Stiltman? Does everyone agree that Batman is one of the greatest supporting cast in comics? Yeah, I agree. Marcus Kellegrew is back. Oh my God, John's correct. I did write my time story in the past. Crumbs. It's ready. So we're talking to the future version. Was that the first reason for mutants before all the retcons? I think that they said that mutants were activated by the first atomic bomb blast, that the radiation released from Hiroshima and Nagasaki unlocked genes that already existed, which implies that the genes already were there, which goes with the Celestials. So, I don't think it's a retcon, but I don't know all the details. I can't remember all the details. Reality has been hacked with Magic's cheat code. There you go. The Kree discovered the mutant gene in humanity. The Celestials put the mutant gene into humanity. The first event was the creation of the Eternals. Yep. However, leaving me hanging. But yeah, I agree with all of that. I bought the first album, Captain Marvel, yesterday. It's weird, but it's Gene Colan. Oh, Marvel. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't really get good until he changes the costume. He gets that class, like he's got that green and white costume is awesome, but the stories don't get good until he gets that definitive Captain Marvel costume. Neither. Is there a Celestial say, could Superman fly through the head of one like a bullet? I don't know. I like invincible, unknowable, ineffable Celestials. I like Celestials being these unknowable, unexplainable beings. Once we start knowing about the Celestials, it kind of like familiarity breeds contempt. This channel subscription is worth every penny. Thank you. Free. I've been buying the early Avert. Marcus going back to the roots. There you go. I could say, hey, you could say whatever you want. I just think it's so culty and cringe and gay to be fail. I'm so old, I'm going back to the roots. I've suggested Nightcrawler versus Beast Boy. That's a good one. That is a good one. I was about to blurt out my answer. Weakness would be the exhaust hole in the Death Star, while at the same time the Death Star is vulnerable to hyperspace travel. Yeah, the Death Star specifically has a weakness, the exhaust hole, and because it's intrinsic to the Death Star. But it's not a weakness to X-Wings. You know what I mean? It's specific to that particular thing. That's what makes it its weakness. Stop giving so many story ideas. Slow down. There you go. There you go. If I inspired some great comics, then that is awesome. That is absolutely no joke. Total honesty. That's awesome. CG uses wrong hail too. Hail equals ice. Okay. How do you spell that hail? Up by KO Joe. The roots is where it's at right now. I agree. Every once in a while, we got to get back to our roots. A vulnerable is by definition a weakness. Invulnerable by definition is the opposite of weakness. English has multiple words with. Yes, I agree. And now, Eternals versus New Genesis. Eternals, any day. For me, Eternals any day of the week. And I mean, there's nothing I could do about it. But the Eternals was so much better when it was its own world. New Genesis, I just never liked New Genesis. But in my defense, I never read the Jack Kirby. I actually started collecting them, and I need to read them. Martha was a saint. It's all heresy. Batman's mother. Okay. I could still use smoke signals. Even said some weird guys telling me about two tin cans and a string. I'm highly skeptical. John, seeing a woman leading a SEAL team on No Remorse was what? Right. A black lady as a member of is legit. Uh, I don't know if you're goofing on me, but I always give Matt the benefit of the doubt. Um, I didn't see No Remorse. Is that a video game or is that a movie? And if it's supposed to be realistic, then I agree with you. That's what the F. You know what I mean? If it's supposed to be realistic. Now, the black lady leading, being one of the leaders in the Ruska Roma is an ethnic group. It's an ethnic group of literally less than 50,000 people. In real world, how many black Ruska Romans are there? And if your argument is we need black people to infiltrate, then why is there only one? And why is she not in a position to infiltrate? You can say, yeah, she did in the past, and she's older now, which is a good argument. But why aren't there Chinese? Why aren't there black men leaders? You know what I mean? We have one for the sake of my diversity, and it pulled me out of the story, but I still like the movie, you know. But he knew that, and again, that's what started me on my path of darkness. In comics, there's no more nuance to vulnerability. Would you say Batman's weakness is bullets? Yeah, yeah. I would even argue that Batman has no weaknesses. Yeah, he has no weaknesses because he's a normal human. Whatever affects him affects all humans. So he's just a human. But according to Batman fans, you could beat anybody. So not having powers is the greatest superpower. X Gene versus the Terrigen Mists. Yes, the Terrigen Mists unlock the X Gene. Right? If because according to like the celestial theory, all humans have the capacity to mutate. So, and at one point, Marvel was saying that people like the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, it's just an external source unlocked the dormant ability for mutation, whereas the mutants are born with that mutation activated, and then the Inhumans are normal humans, and then at the age of like bar mitzvah or whatever, an external source is activates their mutation and they incorporate it into the society as a cultural thing. I love the Inhumans. I love all of that detail. It's like arguing about the different types of vibranium in Marvel. I love that. I love that. EdCon, when the writer adds to existing continuity, we just coined a new phrase. Hail. You're right. You're right. They've been spelling it wrong. So for now on, guys, whenever you join a CG chat, say snow CG, because apparently it's a weather term, right? Hail was but hail means hail. They spelt it wrong. Did they spell it wrong on purpose? I don't understand the origins of it. Right. The creator of the Death Star designed to tweak this into a structure. To me, I didn't buy that. Rogue One was. I liked Rogue One when I saw it. I got the emotional feels, the member berries, but the more distance I put between the movie, it was a totally unnecessary movie. It was fan service, and then it was there to unexplain. Like to me, it's just the Empire is a mechanizing machine. They just build and build and build and build, and they just, for the sake of expediency and arrogance, there was this flaw that they didn't think of. Just like Sauron didn't think that there would be anybody to destroy the ring. Nobody would do it. You know what I mean? That to me it makes more sense than some guy was pressed. I don't know. It was the Solo movie which I saw was totally unnecessary, and Rogue One, I liked it. It's the best of all the prequel movies, but it was unnecessary, and I know people are gonna get mad. The German spelling, Heil. Free? This show is free? Oh, come on, stop kidding me. Yeah, of Cost me money. The only person that has to spend money on this channel is me. He didn't mess with the man's family, then make him design a death ray. Yeah, that's the premise of the movie. I'm with you on the Black Gypsy thing being what the heck moment. Yeah, it pulled me out. It pulled me out of the movie. Did I say I hated it? No, it pulled me out of the movie. It made me go, ah, okay, you know, that's it. And he knew that, and he knew that, and he started me on my dark path. I saw that movie on Amazon. There was no female Navy SEALs, especially a black female officer. Yeah, it's also like Sharon Carter in World War II in the Captain America movie. It pulled me out. You're gonna tell me that there were you know, women win the USO. And what we need now is Billy Tucci. He's a World War II expert. Were there women in like that position that she had? I don't know, but it made me stop and think, and that's what you shouldn't be doing in a movie. That thing John said earlier about the other universe, that's a new script idea right there. Magic. Okay, what did I say about Infinite Time? No Remorse is a recent SEAL movie, and they had a woman leading the team. It ruined it. It's completely unrealistic. Batman's weaknesses and strengths are his writers. A weakness doesn't have to be unique to an individual. Every Kryptonian has a weakness to a red sun. Sustained. Gypsies are a real group. It's like John Wick meeting Native Americans and having a Japanese. Yeah, yes, yes, absolutely. And I know people. One guy said to me, Rome was cosmopolitan. They're not Romans. Roma is because they were from Romania, and they called them gypsies because they thought they were from Egypt. Because, but they weren't African. And the Ruska Roma are whiter than Sydney Sweeney's glorious boobs. The Ruska Roma are Russian gypsies. Show me how many black women are Russian gypsies. Can we stop? I know. I know. I know. And this is the guy who built this channel on pointing out that crap. In comics, it does have to be logical. Okay, you were okay. Sometimes the comments are the terms are used independently. Hail Caesar was started the Hail stuff. It's goofy. It's gay. It's freaking gay. Let's just call a spade a spade. And now that I know that they spell it wrong, it's even gayer. I want the original Captain America back in the MCU. How do you think they could reintroduce him? Madball Marvel. Madball Marvel. That was my hashtag for a while. Reintroduced the Captain America storyline on by Jack Kirby that there were Madballs. And I forget if it was Hydra, but a group or AIM. They introduced the mad bombs. Excuse me, I say mad bombs. These bombs drove people mad. The first one was big enough to make like a city block crazy, and everybody would go crazy. The second one was big enough for a city, and the last one was big enough for a continent. Captain America defeated. But what if there was a fourth mad bomb that drove the whole world mad? Captain America thought he was a Nazi, and and Iceman thought he was gay, and whatever this, and then and made the X-Men supremacist because the whole world was acting mad. Mad Bomb Marvel. That's the way to fix it. And in continuity, and it's not a retcon. John's Longbox understands parallelism. Can you quote me on that? His earlier point is absolute. Thank you. Thank you. It's not. John was right. We need a T-shirt. We need a T-shirt. Logic is not I hate women. It's just not a thing. There's no women on the teams, and then to be a yes, I agree. I agree. Oh, I thought you were saying logically. It's not. You were addressing logic's finest. Okay, I got confused, which is real easy to do to me, especially after I've been up all night. Logically, John has forgotten his very own key point. I got to have another coffee. What did I forget? Fortunately, John has forgotten his very own. What did I forget? Remind me what I've forgotten. Undo House of M and M Day. Retcon everything that happens afterwards. It depends on how you undo it. I've said this a million times before. That if it happened, we have to address it. Like in the movie Misery, the crazy lady, Kathy Bates, she puts the writer in the bed and hands him a typewriter and says, "Start writing." And he starts writing. She woke up and she goes, "No." She goes, "Misery was buried. I read it. It happened. You have to address that." So he's like, oh my God. So he has to address her escaping from the coffin and how did she get in the how did that happen? And it causes him to write the best thing he's ever written. That is what you have to do. You have to take all of the bad stuff. To just hand wave it away is the absolute worst thing you could do for a couple of reasons. It's A, it's lazy, and B, it just gives you the precedent that you could just hand wave away anything you don't like. And once you can hand wave away anything you don't like, there is no continuity. And if there's no continuity, there's no consequences, there's no stakes. So Wolverine gets decapitated, he's dead. Then you just hand wave it away. Then there's no consequence, there's no drama, there's no pathos. That's why I don't like the Marvel movies anymore, because there's just another multiverse to change everything. You know what I mean? You have to keep it. It happened. So if you want to undo it, you have to come up with a way that doesn't just hand wave it away. The fourth mad bomb is Twitter. I almost that's kind of funny. That's a there you go, guys. There's another a social media. Oh my God, that is brilliant. A social media platform designed to just make everybody crazy. You unrelease this app, everybody gets obsessed with it, and then the fifth column just marches it. Brilliant. Eric, brilliant. Don't Heroic Tales 11 just got plotted out, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Barr, I'm with you, bud. There are no female seals. I'm tired of all this 95. Yeah, I agree. And I would be on the ballerinas a girl boss thing if it wasn't set in a world where there's superheroes. I remember watching John Wick for the very first time, and I said afterwards, I go, this was a superhero movie. This was a comic book movie. And he said, why? I said, first off, there's four colors. Look at the lighting in the first John Wick movie. I don't know if they kept it up, but the lights were red, green, blue, and yellow. They were the four colors. I said, this is set like a comic book. It's a set like a four-color comic book to remind you that it's not the real world. It's brilliant. I really like John Wick. And then later on, I heard the directors, is it the Russo brothers? I forget. They said, yeah, we wanted it to be as much like a comic book as possible. Vindication. So the ballerina Anna de Armas, who's one of the cutest. She's just you just want to hug her. She's so cute. Pinch her little cheeks. She's so cute. So, but she's 4 foot nothing. But she could beat up people. Why? Because she's in a comic book. She's in a purposely unrealistic comic book world. I didn't see the movie Matt's referencing, but it sounds like they're trying to be realistic. And if you're trying to be realistic, then you got to deal with realistic world. John was right. What an amazing point did I make? John's Longbook. I was right. About what? Can you remind me? Yeah, I was right. And then on the back, about what? That's pretty funny. Yeah. It could be reality changing Paris had a rubber band effect forcing the change. Yeah. But I also don't want Mephisto doing it. I mean, I accept that he can do it, but then it just, then Mephisto is the focus of the Marvel universe, which he shouldn't be. I like the concept of the House of M, but I didn't read House of M. I still never read House of M because I don't care about alternate worlds. I don't care about alternate worlds. I don't care about absolute Batman. I don't care about I want the one timeline to be good. Anything else that's like obviously I read some what ifs and I read Elseworld stuff like that. But come on, enough's enough with all the alternate worlds. Make one timeline because it becomes this little paradox loop. It becomes a bubble, and it's self-contained, and it has no effect on the outside world. House of M is just a bubble episode, so who cares? It doesn't affect the rest of continuity. You could remove it, and it doesn't change anything. Has no consequences. It's not interesting. And that's why I do not like. There you go. The hand waves. Absolutely. I'm just getting real hungry, guys, so I'm eating some chips. Time travel and multiverses without the hand waving is my brand identity. There you go. What's up? There's that Don. How's Mama? Glad to see Mama Donna's good. Mama Donna is the sniper. That's her nickname, the sniper. She just comes in and bam, headshot, bam, headshot. Funny. Uh, when I was talking last night about comedy is timing, I should have brought up Mama Donna. She has ultimate timing. That was essentially the plot of Deceased, a corrupt version of the anti-life equation affected people through technology, screens, and turned people into great. Oh, there you go. I didn't read it. Sounds good. I'm calming down, Don. I'm calming down. Calming down. Uh, I realized that it was your boy Zach put me in it. He started me on my dark path. We are now talking. I should shave my beard. I should be the opposite. Evil John doesn't have a beard. Good John has the beard. House of M should have been a what if limited series. Just yeah, I agree. I agree. Absolutely, I agree. Can't argue with that. Timey wimey does sound a bit hand wavy. I need to retcon. You went and then you don't exist anymore. Yeah, that whole one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who is the name of the episode called Sally Sparrow? Is that the name? That's my favorite Doctor Who episode, but it's also the worst because that's where they introduced timey wimey, and then you could do whatever you want. You saw nothing. What if it's created to tell short stories set in an alternative view? They should stay there. Multiverses, yeah, absolutely. And the thing about what ifs is it works in the context of the watcher telling these stories, that he's peering into things that bear no bearing. And it's an interesting little experiment. And I love them. And I love that they were all like they could be tragic and sad. I really did like but now there's no dividing line between what if and regular continuity. I'm trying. Oh, you back from church? Yes, we're still going. Yeah, everybody wants to know how Mama Donna's doing. Everybody loves Mama Donna. Do you have cosmic entities in your universe yet? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Uh, yeah, I'll just say yes, I do, because I don't want to spoil it. But yes, I have cosmic entities in my universe. Not yet, because the first, well, yeah, if you consider the sponsor of the suit, not the 666. I'm not telling you who it is, but that is a cosmic entity. So yes, I already introduced cosmic entities without being specific. Blake, multiverses without lazy writing. That's a guarantee here. Captain Infinity comic book. We totally follow the. There you go. There you go. John's evil twin is Shortbox, and he only collects slab books with signatures on the cover. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's too terrifying to even imagine. Blink is a great Oh, Blink is the name of the episode. I thought you were referencing that Marvel character. Blink is the name of the episode. Oh man, the Weeping Angels was so good, and then they retconned the Weeping Angels. It, Doctor Who is they don't care about continuity. Blink, that dumb term notwithstanding, absolute gem. Yes, it's my favorite. It's my favorite episode of Doctor Who. I need a better mic. Yeah, you're not the first person to tell me that. You're not the first person. Am I caught up? Classic Doctor Who died in 1989. New Who's for a different audience demographic. Fair enough. To me, it's a shadow of second. A few Fred gems. Yeah, I can't argue. Wow, I'm caught up. I'm caught up. So as normal, I'll end it. As long as everybody's done. Is the mic that bad? I should buy a mic. You're absolutely right. So I'm all caught up. I've been talking for 3 hours and 40 minutes. Holy mackerel. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Doctor Who, and I got really excited in that episode with Matt Smith when he realized that he was causing problems, and then he erased himself from all data banks in the universe through the Daleks, so that nobody knows who Doctor Who is. And he was like a giant Cyberman going through Victorian England. I've been getting sloppy, and then the season ends. I was like, oh my God, the next season is going to fix all the continuity errors. It's going to be awesome. And then not only didn't address it, but they just made it worse. And I was like, this is such a wasted opportunity. I was so excited for that new season. And then they just poo poo pee pee. They did fart poo poo pee pee. BBC changed in 2001. Thanks for the awesome thing you said earlier. What did I say? I was right about something. The entire company led to the global death push of the Yep. I figure one person changing all of reality should be countered by the forces of nature. Reality allows it to an extent, but natural order would need to enforce caveats to prevent universal breakdown. If I understand what you said, I agree. Time for a Sunday afternoon smoke break. See you guys later. Continuity and canon at BBC without the. Oh, yeah. See you with. Oh, wow. With that. Oh, my God. It's almost 2. See you with the Drink with Brink in 15 minutes, guys. I'll be interviewing Kristen Zapp. Yeah, go over to the Genuine Comics channel. Matt Smith, you spoke about, was dealt with. Did he fix everything? Am I misremembering? What some person said. What some person say? What did he say? Scrolling back, scrolling up, scrolling up, scrolling up. Oh, did I miss this? It could be reality changing powers had a rubber band effect, forcing the change and some extra damage. The Mary Sue, that's what her power is. Changing reality and the consequences of it. And that how when you change reality, there's consequences. So I'm being tight-lipped about it, but she does something in her debut that has drastic effects on her life and the life of her family. And was it worth it? So that and I'm real nervous that people might not get what she did. I'm real nervous. Just like I was real nervous that people weren't going to get what happened in the suit. And for the most part, people seem to have gotten what happened in the story of the suit. But it's like the Sixth Sense. I think it's so obvious what she did, and yet a couple of readers missed it. So I'm real nervous. I'm real nervous if people are going to understand what happened. By the time issue 3 comes out, it's going to be obvious what she did. But issue 2, is it obvious? Where am I? Where am I? What some person said. The explanation was unnecessary. I don't remember the explanation. I don't remember. John was getting a Doctor Who, but yeah, it is absolutely. It is faulty. Universal breakdowns are generally a bad idea. I'm here to help. Okay. I think it's time to end. It's time to shut down. I don't want to be known for super long chat. And plus, my throat is killing me, and I am pretty hungry. So, good night. Good day. Good day, sir. Let's check out my week. I always like to end this with what's going on in the week. Where's my calendar? I'm like dreading this. I just saw that I have like 50 notifications on Twitter. Do I really want to go through that? I brought it on myself, though. I have only myself to blame. Okay, so starting Wednesdays, the beginning of the streaming week for me, Mondays and Tuesdays, I usually have friends over while I still have them. 7 o'clock, it's Project Nausis. And then I go over at 8:30 to the Fourth Age on RJ's channel. On the 19th, I have Richard Embry. He's going to talk about his new Western comic. On Friday, it's 7 o'clock. It's Raiden. Yeah, Raiden Radio. His comic is pretty good. At least it looks good. I obviously didn't read it yet, but it looks good. You know what I mean? If you ever want to be on my channel to promote your comic, I got to see a sample first. A couple of times, I was like, yeah, sure, come on my channel. And then they showed this comic, and it was just awful. And I'm not mentioning names, but then I just felt like I'm lying to my audience recommending a comic. So what I will do is every once in a while, if I don't have a guest, I'll still do that pitch black where it's just all right. I got no guest. I don't care what you're promoting, and it's understood. I'm not advocating for this comic. I'm just giving you a chance to promote. That'll be for the people that I don't want to finish the sentence, hurt people's feelings. So Friday will be Raiden Radio at 7 p.m. and then at 8:30 it's clobbering time. The topic will be the greatest fictional weapon. I think that'll be fun. Matt Smilt built a robot of back in time. Why don't I remember that? I why don't I? Was it that bad that I forgot it? I'm being very careful at Mary Sue, and it's funny because when JDA talked about me with your boy Zach situation, he clearly didn't read what my comic was about because he said, he made the patriarch and he's smashing down all the forces of feminism and stuff in his foe Mary Sue. I just had to roll my eyes, because it made it sound like a parody comic. It made it sound like a parody, making fun of current thing comic, which is not what I want to do. It's not what I want to do. Like, if you're gonna make a parody about something, it's got to come out on time and it's instantly dating. Like Rainbow the Brute, the joke's over. It's too late. Should have been out a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? That's not what I want to do. I want to make a character that stands the test of time. Be seeing you. Timey-wimey, alternate history-changing silliness. Have a peaceful day with my wife. Thank you. All of a sudden, this fixed point stop, but apparently you could use a robot or something. Oh, is that what he did? Why don't I remember that? It sounds so bad. Maybe I blocked it out of my mind. What Logic said. A lot of notes for today's show. This is why a decent PA is absolutely necessary. What is PA? John, let's not even talk about the Pandorica, Matt Smith blowing up his TARDIS to jumpstart reality. Definitely September for John's time travel story. Yeah. Let's just say that I'm doing my best to get out comics faster. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye. Timey-wimey.